Hey, hey, hey. What's going on, Fankmeisters? Good evening to see you guys. We got Kristen and we got Ruckus Rocks, Mr. Clean in the house with us tonight. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Ruck. What's going on?
Hey
What
guys.
up?
Sorry, guys. I was running late. I laid down for about 5 minutes. The next thing you know, it was an hour later. I just woke up and I'm like, oh, shit.
You're entitled. You are entitled.
Hey, an hour and a half sleep last night is all I had. I'm
Come on, dude.
surprised
You're
I
in
even
the
made it
army.
to court
That's
this
nothing.
morning. What'd you say,
Hello to
Ruckus?
everybody. It's good to see everybody. It's been a minute.
Really? No kidding. Well, me and Kristen, we see each other just about every day. It's either
Yeah, I
by
miss you,
phone
to
or
be
on
honest.
here.
I watch you in the morning when I have coffee. But
Yeah.
Hey
I'm the
Yeah.
Rescue, how are you, my dear? So good to see you.
She getting ready to get on a plane tomorrow, guys.
rescue is?
Yeah, we're
she's
going
going
on
on
a
a
cruise.
cruise.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm sorry.
said.
I didn't get the invite. I apologize. Maybe it's because of the address change.
It's okay.
Well,
Ruckus, you and I were supposed to go back to their house and watch the dogs.
Oh, okay. Well,
hey,
Jack's gone.
hold,
I ain't
hold
going
on,
in.
hold on. Chris, you stole my damn passenger seat anyway.
I did. I did.
I want to go see George. George is a great dog, isn't he?
Oh my God, he is so adorable. I love all of the dogs, and they've got a new rescue dog. And
I hope it's a husky because they got rid
no,
of
it's
Jack.
not. It's a pit, and she is adorable. She's really cute.
Well, today was one hell of a day, guys. I don't even know if
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to go to tomorrow's hearing or the closing arguments tomorrow because of all the bullshit that's been going on up there with the defense dummies.
Susan called me because she couldn't get you, and I knew you were sleeping. I wasn't going to call you because I didn't want to wake you up. And
When
she
did
was
she
like,
call?
I don't. She called me like around 3:30. And
Oh yeah,
like, I can't get Frank to answer. And she's like, and I know he'll answer for you. And I was like, he'll answer for you too. But I was like, he's sleeping,
yeah.
And
I seen she called. She said call me, and I called her right back, but she didn't answer. Well, she's up at the doghouse right now.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Spend
But
the
like I
time
was saying, it
with
was
Tara and the family and stuff.
yeah, it was fucking nuts up there today, man. People fighting and screaming and hollering at each other and shit for fucking seats.
She said it was terrible.
Oh my God. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right?
I mean, it's a circus, is what it sounds like it's turned into.
Well, Rick Snay joined the fucking circus with him to defense dummies.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. I
You
know
know.
all about it because I called him out, and then he wrote a real nice community post about me.
And then you have news reporters who didn't have their badge or they get their media credentials for the day. Well, they automatically assume they're supposed to be in the courtroom if they don't have a media credentials handed to them for the day. They were out there fucking screaming and hollering at everybody and shit, And then they were taking their chairs and moving people's chairs out of the way and moving their chairs closer to the front of the line and shit. I said, man, this is some
of these people are going to have a real eye-opening when this case is over and said and done, and they all get subpoenaed and to get called in for their depositions for their lawsuits.
Right. And you know how many times I wanted to walk up to Julie Melvin and say, you just need to worry about if your ass is going to get sued when this shit's all over with.
She won't. None of them will. Nothing's going to come of this.
They don't care. They don't care.
Nothing's going to come of this.
I mean,
there'll be a Netflix special in about a year or so, and they may touch on this stuff. But I mean, this is not out of the ordinary stuff.
Apparently not. I was like, God damn, you guys, I said, we got one day left, and y'all are acting like the World Series, and you got free tickets to it.
But the thing is, Frank, you and I could be sitting next to each other, even though we have the same views, sitting next to each other in court and get something totally different.
Right. Right.
So until the transcripts come out, until, somebody's going to write a book
Well, you know,
either
Oh, there'll be
merit
more
or
than
defense.
one. There'll be
Oh,
more
yeah.
than one.
Somebody asked me if I was going to write a book, and I said I'm not no author. You know,
I won't read it. If you do, I'll wait for the DVD.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, I'm lazy.
You know, and I was just flabbergasted the way they
I
were
don't
acting.
think you're lazy at all. You've been working your ass off. Don't
You know,
say that.
and like you were saying, people were calling me and asking me what was actually said in the courtroom. Did Brittany say she didn't love her dad? You know, was there a juror who basically
Yelled, "Let him finish."
well caused a ruckus in the courtroom? And I said, no, that never happened. And they said, well, who was it? I said, it was Rosie. It wasn't a juror. You know, and I said, if it was a juror, she would have.
Rosie yelled.
Yeah, because Luttrell kept objecting to
Ticked
some
Rosie
stuff that
off.
was going on, right?
Yeah.
And he kept telling the judge, I'm just wanting him to answer yes or no, because that Dr. Warren, that forensic, whatever the hell he was from Tennessee, ballistic specialist, whatever he was, and Luttrell was getting pissed. And then when he objected, you could hear Rosie, just let him answer the question. And everybody took it as one of the jurors doing that. And I said, oh, no. I said, if it was a juror, she would have went into recess immediately, removed that juror, and replaced him with an alternate.
Him, her,
or her,
male
right?
Voice, obviously.
Right, you know.
But they all do the same thing. I mean, was this direct examination or cross?
Cross.
Okay,
no,
so
it was direct.
During cross,
it was
you can
direct.
lead the witness.
It was cross, yeah.
Yeah, you can lead the witness during cross. They'll start out with, don't you agree, and end the sentence with correct. You can do that.
That's
if you
what
do that during
was
direct,
doing.
that's leading the witness. So you can't do that during direct.
That's what Luttrell was doing during cross, you know.
Right. So then Rossi, however you pronounce it, he should have just shut the fuck up then.
Right. You know, he was just
that's what they do during
But
class.
he can't. He likes to be the center.
And what was so bad with this Dr. Warren is that when he was answering questions, he was like reading an essay. And Luttrell's like, I just need a simple yes or no. You don't have to spill into this big, long, you know, answer. We just need a yes or no.
To confuse the jury. They make their answers super, super long and drawn out to confuse the jury.
Right, exactly. You know, and that was, I mean, this is some of the shit that we've had to deal with up there, up at the courthouse the last few days. And I'm just like, man, I have never seen such a damn mess in my life when people are wanting to get into the courtroom. You know, I'm just like, God dang, guys, you know, you're going to hear everything from all these different podcasters that are there. You know, I don't expect anybody to watch the news stations because we all know they take bits and pieces out of the courtroom and they make this long story that don't even make sense, you know. And I tell people, don't watch the news because you're not getting the actual facts out of the courtroom when you listen to them. Like I said, they pick and choose what they want to put out there. And people are like, well, what else happened in there? I said, that's why I tell you not to watch the news, because if you watch us podcasters, we're going to actually tell you everything that's happened in that courtroom. We're not going to sugarcoat shit. You know what I mean?
Who's Mob Bada? Is that Bob Mata?
No.
Okay.
That ain't Bob.
I just wondered if that was Bob.
He's too far up Kathy Allen's ass.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We
saw that. We saw that in court.
Oh my goodness. Listen what I noticed today. Richard Allen comes into the courtroom 9:00 this morning. And they completely changed the seating arrangements out of nowhere. It was a shock to everybody. They cut off 8 seats for the public, you know, and they gave the families a couple minutes, which I didn't have no problem with, you know. And then when Bob walked into the courtroom, he walked right up to Kathy and leaned over, was patting her on his shoulder, and I looked over at Richard Allen. That motherfucker had a look if
he doesn't like him, and you can see it. He's like, "Get away from my woman." I mean, that's serious. That I saw that on Friday when I was there.
I said, "Man, if looks could kill, Bob would be dead right now."
And Marv said that that's pretty much every time when Bob Mata is leaning over another person to talk to her, if he's not right next to her. But as of late, he's been right next to her. And that I think that's another reason why Richard is constantly swaying in his chair. You know what I mean? He's constantly swiveling because he wants to see what's going on back there.
Yeah,
well, that's a self-soothing action.
What's
right.
That? Yeah.
Him moving like that, it's part of it. He may have ADHD. I don't know.
Rocking, bouncing your legs, swaying in your chair. Playing with your hair,
you know, you hear all
Are
these
you
people.
Teasing me? Are you teasing me because I'm playing with my hair?
No,
I mean, you hear people talk about how Richard Allen's all nice and calm and everything, and I said, where in the hell are you getting this from? Because from what I'm seeing, the way he was looking at Bob, I mean, geez. And this guy's only 5 foot nothing. I'm like, man, Bob would probably get his ass whooped by Richard.
It might be a good fight.
I don't know, but it was just a fucking mess, madhouse today, and I've been in a
sad. You know, it's like, you know, it's just sad. This doesn't need to be like this around, you know, this case. You know, it's about Abby and Libby and justice for them, and you know, and 12 jurors making a decision. And these people that are trying to make this show and create all of this unrest and you know, pointing fingers at family members and still trying to push that narrative out there. I mean, the evil that exists in our society
these days,
it's just horrible. And boy, has it really come out in this case with how people behave. I mean, I'm just like, these people are adults, not high school kids. And I don't know, maybe I'm just too old. Maybe that's what's wrong with me.
I mean, I was talking to Becky about this a few hours ago, and I told her, Becky, I said, I hope you realize that Julie and all these defense dummies are basically trying to keep you guys from having any type of support in the courtroom. And she goes, oh, I already know. Well, I'm trying to put an end to that crap because I made a call to somebody and they never called me back. So hopefully he calls me tomorrow so I can let him know exactly what's going on up there. You know, Julie has no business having her ass up there in the first place.
But she has the same rights as everybody else.
Though. I understand she does, dude, but what she's attempting to do is wrong. She's paying people to go take seats up there so the public can't go in there to support the family, you know. She's paying
a lot of people are doing that, though.
It's a lot of defense.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, all these people that are doing it are defense dummies, you know. And I'm just like, what if it was your grandchild or your daughter or your son that was brutally murdered like this? Would you want somebody?
I feel so bad for Carrie and Anna. When you sit and look at them and see how this trial has taken its toll on them, they were already having difficulties. You know what I mean?
Oh, you seen it today with Carrie. She had severe anxiety, something bad.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I was like, my goodness, Carrie, you know. But I mean,
it wasn't special. I mean, yeah. Listen, I've always said this. Once it gets to trial, the truth does not matter. It's all about sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, theatrics, who can put on the best show. Because the defense gets the discovery, and whatever the defense has, the prosecution gets their discovery. So they already know all of this information. It's just how they present it. So it's all about sleight of hand, deflection, smoke and mirrors.
Who has the best experts?
Yeah, but the experts cancel each other out.
And cancel each other out, exactly.
Who can create the best story in the courtroom? That's what it boils down to.
And all these people that are talking shit about the families and all that, and it's disgusting. They're not web sleuths. They're not truth warriors. They're dickheads. They're assholes. So you just have to block and ignore those people. All the transcripts and all the evidence outside of sensitive material will be available after the trial. So we'll see. We'll get to see the whole shooting match. And plus, there'll be a book or two or a
Yeah.
Netflix show or two. I'm sure the CW will do one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to make a movie. Somebody's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
make a movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, today, we expected the defense to rest, but we expected them to rest today, but we didn't expect them to rest right out the gate. When Rosie stood up and said, "We rest our case, Your Honor," people just looked at each other and their jaws dropped. We were expecting a couple more witnesses to try to prove their point on their side of the case. And when he did that, we was like, well, damn, where's all these?
The appeal will be interesting.
Yeah.
Now, they rested today because they're not allowed to use the Odinist theory.
Well,
if they use that, it would be going on for another week and a half or 2 weeks.
Or like we were talking last night with Kristen and Susan, Baldwin, when the jury was excused for the day, and the judge always asks each side if they have anything that they need to get off their chest before they end the day. Baldwin stood right up and instantly tried to start that third party shit.
Right.
And
I am so glad she shut him down.
She goes,
that's what she's been
no.
on. For 2 years, they've been working on that. I wish that she had let it in, to be honest with you.
It was funny because she's like, oh, no.
But she couldn't because of the law. The law is very, very, very clear. They can't attach those people to this crime and just, they can't just pull it out of a hat and say, well, this is who did it, or I think this person did it. I mean, yeah, sure, the Martians came down from Mars and did it too.
Yeah, like I said, she says, oh, no. We've talked about this 1,000 times. You have no evidence. You have no nexus. So you're not bringing third party in. Well, I'll be damned if he didn't do it again today after Dr. Warren was done being questioned, or Dr. Martin, excuse me. I said, you got to be kidding me. He got shot down yesterday, and it was Elvis Fields that he was trying to get in, is what he was trying to do. Because you know what Elvis said? He spit on the girls, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But today was pretty much over with by 2:00, 2:30.
And then you said you couldn't get back in. How many people were outside when you went out from the morning?
When we got released from break, we got for lunch. It was 12:30, and we only got 45 minutes. When I stepped out the courtroom and looked downstairs at the bottom floor at the atrium, there was at least 40 people in line waiting to get into the courtroom.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be worse, closing arguments.
And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get back in after lunch.
Yeah. And what surprises me is usually the jury instructions. Usually both sides have a problem with it. She let them know before this started what the jury instructions were going to be, and neither one of them want anything changed, which is surprising.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was only 3 witnesses today. It was Bree Wilbur, Detective Harshman, and Dr. Martin. Bree, when she got called up to the stand, basically all that happened there is that the defense was crossing her and asked her, do you know what time you took the photo at the bench on the trail? She said, no, I don't remember when that was, da-da-da-da-da. And she wasn't even up there 5 minutes, and it was over with for her. She explained that she was walking up the trail, turned back around, and decided to go toward the Monon High Bridge. They asked her if she's seen any other people on the bridge at that time or on the trail. And she's like, no, I didn't see no 2 girls. No, I didn't see bridge guy. And then she said that she started walking toward the Monon High Bridge, and she came to the bench, and that's when she ran into Riley and her sister. And that's when they took the photo. Okay. But
at 126.
Yeah. And she said then she started to head back up the trail, toward the Freedom Bridge, and was leaving about 2:20 or 1:30 something. and she said that she did see Bridge Guy. Okay. Well, she walked right past him. And that was it for that. And then you had Harshman. They brought him back up to question him about videos and phone calls. Basically, did you view a video of this at Westfield? Did you view a video at Wabash? The phone calls, it was repetitive stuff that they'd already talked about before. All they were doing was driving it home to make sure that it gets into the jurors' heads exactly what he had witnessed and what he heard, you know.
Well, the closing statement should be interesting. I mean, to be honest, I'm underwhelmed by both sides, what they presented. I'm underwhelmed by the prosecution and the defense. I thought there would be way more on both sides.
I thought the prosecutor would have came out with a lot more myself.
Yeah,
but
but
to
they
me,
kept it simple.
Huh?
They kept it simple.
Yeah.
Short. Now, we'll see during the closing arguments. I'm sure that he's going to lay out the whole timeline and everything.
Well,
like
they're getting 2.5 hours per side for their closing arguments.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then they called Dr. Martin up there, and the dude's intelligent, but he is Middle Eastern Indian. Okay. And he was hard to understand because it was his dialect with his language. It was hard to understand what he was saying, but a lot of us got a lot of things down. He told us dates, all kinds of stuff when he first started seeing Richard Allen. He told us the first day that he confessed, which was November 11th of 2022. That's the very first confession that Richard Allen had ever done, a call to Kathy. Okay. Then he started talking about Richard Allen going into psychosis. He was on Prozac and everything, and then he started going into psychosis mode. And then he was given those shots of Haldol. And it seemed like it was improving his psychosis, is what Dr. Martin was saying. He would go months and months and months of seeing him, and then all of a sudden he wasn't in psychosis anymore. And then he said in June of 2023, out of nowhere, Richard Allen says, I just want to apologize to the families for killing Abby and Libby. And he said it was just out of nowhere, you know, and he didn't know what to think. And then when I started reading back through my notes and how all of a sudden his psychosis was just gone, I said, this son of a bitch was faking the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's not always the case, though.
I know. And that's when they asked him, could he have been slipping in and out of psychosis? Mm-hmm. I've never heard of somebody slipping out of psychosis and then turn around and slipping right back in. And I've never heard of that in my life. And the doctor said, yeah, you could slip in and out of psychosis. And I was like, okay. And then he started going over dates again and things of that nature.
Steve with True Crime Web is here, and he said the last time he saw Ruckus in similar lighting was when he tripped him in Delphi at the crime scene.
He's a damn liar. He's a damn liar, and he knows it.
Steve's in here?
Yeah, he's here.
Good to see you, Steve.
I'm going to call you tomorrow, brother. I talked to Drew tonight. I'm planning my trip out there.
I'm looking over my notes, guys. Give me just a second. He was seeing Richard Allen one day a week. Okay. And that was every month. Huh?
Which isn't much when you stop and think about it.
Right. And then he's the one.
Waller was seeing him daily.
Yes. But Dr. Martin is the one who witnessed him butt naked in the cell. Okay. Laying on his mat, rubbing feces all over his body. And then feces in his mouth.
God.
Oh, I said, oh my God, that is sick. I said, I was thinking to myself, is this for attention or what is this? Because that's not a psychosis. That's not psychosis to me. Because like I said,
just acting crazy.
Right. I dated a girl who went into deep psychosis on me and it freaked me out. You know, she didn't know where she was. She thought me and her were married, thought that her daughter was my daughter when she wasn't. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this girl? So I took her to
But
the.
it's like I told everybody, and I've told everybody over and over again, it doesn't matter if Richard Allen is having psychosis and he's going in and out of it and he's doing all these things after he was arrested. What was
Right.
his state of mind on February 13th, 2017, when he went to that bridge? I don't think he was in any psychosis, and I
No.
don't think that he was having any kind of mental breakdown. I think he went there with a purpose. And everybody, you know, I mean, that's the major thing. And then what happened to him after that? Well, he went back to work at CVS and lived his life for 5.5 years. And he said that to Dr. Walla. I just went back to and lived my life.
Okay. And, you know, and then he said that's when he started putting him on that Haldol. And he said that his mental state started to improve, you know. And basically that was about it. He was just saying that he saw him once a month, put him on Haldol. He wasn't on there very long either. And then we had lunch break, and that's when I couldn't get back in. And from my understanding, the defense did their cross on him, and Rosie questioned him in a way that made Dr. Martin stumble in his answers. I'm not sure exactly what was said, you know, but that was what was told to me.
Well,
and I was just like, huh?
That's his job. They're character assassins.
Right. You know, and I was just,
They didn't put Kathy on the stand.
What?
They didn't put Kathy on the stand
No.
for a
She
reason.
never testified.
They did not want her to be cross-examined.
Yep, she was never on the stand at all. You
Well,
know,
we'll see. Closing arguments is going to be interesting.
Oh yeah. But the big question that everybody needs to understand is that the white van was never, ever released to the public. It was not in the discovery. No one knew about the white van except for one person, and we all knew who's the one who figured it out. Fig Solves is the one who figured that out with the white van. And when Richard Allen said, well, I was spooked by a van. And I said, well, he didn't know it wasn't in the discovery. So how did he know about the white van? Right there is your smoking gun. You know, how the jury, they better have some damn common sense. It's all I got to say, because the evidence is clearly it's Richard Allen, period.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The white van alone should convict him.
He is, well, that, and he's bridge guy. And what people don't seem to understand is he took the girls off that bridge at gunpoint. That's all he has to do to get convicted. That's it. They don't have to prove anything else.
Right. Exactly.
So,
well, I mean, Kristen, they could find your driver's license at a crime scene next to a body. That does not mean you did it.
No, I know.
You know, so I haven't been in the courtroom. You guys have. So it's hard for me to judge. You know, I thought he was going to change his plea. I honestly did.
And I think he wanted to, and they talked him out of it.
At the end of the day,
know that they talked him out of it. I think he still would like to plead, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Another thing that was crazy. Another thing that was crazy today. The three witnesses haven't all made it there. Bree was the first one. Okay, they were waiting on Harshman and Dr. Martin. Well, we were in recess. She made us sit in the courtroom for a recess for nearly 45 minutes. Okay. Well, here comes Rosie, here comes Aju, here comes Nick, and everybody coming into the courtroom saying the witnesses are here. Then Rosie walks up to the bench and says, Baldwin left. And I'm like, what? So now we have to sit in the courtroom for another 40 minutes waiting for Baldwin to get back because they had to call him to come back. How many times has he done that? Not showed up to one of the hearings, or he's got another case, so he's leaving Rosie to do it all by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you right now, Rosie was the lead. Rosie is the lead of that team.
Baldwin was the bully, though. He was the bad cop.
We talked about this last night, Kristen. it made me so sick every time that Baldwin was crossing somebody. Do I need to give you a little reminder of what you said back in the day? And what I told the audience last night, I said, sure, you can give me a reminder all you want. Yeah, it says I said that, but I still don't remember saying that. That's just me. That's how I would have done it if I was a witness on the stand. You know, because me and Ruckus, Chris, and we've all talked about this. Hell, we can't remember shit that we did 2 or 3 days ago. alone 7 to 8 years ago, you know.
But dude, they're slick. They'll depose you and they'll be nice guys. And then when they examine or cross-examine you, when they direct or cross-examine,
they
talk to you like you're a piece of shit. Yeah.
Right.
Try and trip you up.
Just
right.
like
I'll
they
be
did
right
to Brad
back.
Weber. I mean, that's what they did to. That's what he did to Brad Weber. That's
yeah.
That's
There's
what
no doubt.
kicked Brad off. You know, he was.
It was pissing him off.
Yeah, well, and I think it ticked off Sarah too, Carbaugh.
Sarah Carbaugh, woof.
She's a strong witness. I firmly believe that she's a very strong witness, and you know, that's part of it. You know, when you get into deliberation as a juror and you're sitting there and you're weighing the evidence and you're weighing the witnesses and who do you believe, who's more credible, who's more, you know, less likely to trip up or have thought about things wrong or remembered things wrong. That's all things that they're going to have to settle and agree on.
You know, when it comes to something like this in a cross-examination, try to remember exactly what you said 7 to 8 years ago. How did they expect you to remember what you said in the deposition 7 to 8 years ago? I mean, I'm going right back to it again. Hell, if I did something 2 days ago and somebody reminds me what I did, I don't remember that. That's like going to the bar and getting drunk and beating the piss out of somebody, but you don't remember it the next day.
Well, it's like trying to remember what you wore 2 days ago.
Exactly. We're trying to remember.
If you weren't going somewhere special, how would you, remember?
Right. You know, but the point of the matter is that there's 1 day left in the courtroom, and then it goes to the jury. And this is something that we've all been anticipating for how many years now? Going on 8, right? So it's going to be very interesting on how these closing arguments are going to go. But
it's going to be huge. It's going to really be a huge thing for them. Both sides, they're going to really need to swing it out of the park, in my opinion. I agree with Ruckus when he said, I was floored when the state said arrested their case.
Right.
I was like, well, wait a minute. Why haven't we talked about this? Why didn't you bring up this? I mean, there were so many things that I was like, why didn't he do this? And, have somebody, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of shocked that Nick ended his so quick too.
Very much so.
But when it comes to the closing arguments, what Nick needs to really do, this is my opinion, he needs to drive the confessions and the white van as hard as he can. And
and the lack of an alibi.
And why didn't Richard Allen see Bridge Guy?
Right. I mean, there's a bunch of
that would be a question that I would throw out there. Everybody else that day saw Bridge Guy. The girls saw Bridge Guy. Sarah saw Bridge Guy. Betsy Blair saw Bridge Guy.
Riley and her sister.
Richard Allen says that he was there at the same time they were and at the same places, and he didn't see Bridge Guy.
Right.
Why?
Because you were Bridge Guy, because Bridge Guy was on the bridge.
Yep.
Duh. And you should have seen him in the courtroom just shaking his head.
Oh, God, no, I don't need to do the closing. But thank you.
I'd love to do the closing, honestly.
I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I think there's more that they need to do. They know their job better than me. Sorry.
I mean, anybody could probably be an attorney. You just got to have that special knack to communicate with people on how to get into their brain. You know what I mean?
True. You have to like to argue.
I do like to argue.
Yeah.
I can argue with the best of them.
I was on the debate team in high school for a reason.
Oh my.
Now
Oh
this
my.
case may change a lot of things. I mean, let's face it. The defense team used social media brilliantly.
They sure did.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing when they went into this from day one when they got put on the case.
Sure.
They instantly came out and said, we need all the help we can get from the outside.
I loved, when they offered, after they recused themselves, they offered to go pro bono. I was hoping that the judge said, okay, deal. They'd be bankrupt by now, even though they really, how much could they have spent on experts? I mean, that $45,000 that they raised from people, and I want to know where my $3.58 went. To be honest with you, and I'm going to be right up in that. I'm going to be up in that class action lawsuit. I may start it.
You know what? You can't even get a 40-ounce with what you donated, man.
I don't care. That was the least I could donate, and that's what I donated.
And
I've got proof of it, and it went from my Cash App to Hennessy. Not to that fund. It went.
Well, you know where it went when it went to Hennessy. He woke up hungover the next day.
Yeah, old lead pipe. Fuck him. He's going to have to tell me where my $3.58 went.
I'm flabbergasted the way it ended today. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. This is it? I want to hear the juicy shit, and the crosses. It didn't even turn out like that.
Scarlet Letter says that the FBI expert that the defense hired cost him $24,000, 80 hours at $300 an hour.
Well, imagine what.
I'm not mad at it.
Dr. Westcott charged $450 an hour.
Jesus.
We're in the wrong business.
I swear. Good Lord. I want to go to court and testify.
And Susan, it was another psychiatrist that they brought. It was an older man, the guy from New York. New York.
Yeah.
The one that went to Harvard and all that stuff.
The
and
older doctor.
Yeah. Susan wrote down on her pad and showed it to me. She said, he's being paid 10 grand or more just because he's been a psychiatrist for 50, 60 something years. And me and Susan just looked at each other and said, this guy's probably not even up to date on psychiatry.
Are you talking about Martin?
Yes, Dr. Martin.
Now he's
no, not Dr. Martin. Right? Hold on, I got to find his name.
No, it wasn't Martin. It was
Gisette Galepio or something like that.
Gracian or something like that.
Gracian?
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at him. He asked for that money, they gave it to him.
And it was a waste of money.
I'm just glad to see he's not a doctor. All my doctors have Indian last names.
I got my wrong notepad. I've got 3 notepads full of notes. But
what do you guys think is going to come of this? Before the closing arguments, what do you think the verdict is going to be? And I'll give my choice.
If Nick does his closing arguments the right way and the jury has any common sense whatsoever, it'll be a guilty plea.
All right, Kristen.
I feel that honestly, I honestly believe that the state has proven the case beyond a reasonable doubt in my mind. From everything that I've seen, I believe that the jury, it only takes one person to screw everything up. And when I was sitting in that courtroom, those jurors seemed to be very much in tune to what was happening. I'm going to say they're going to vote guilty.
Okay. I can't see anything but a hung jury, a mistrial.
And see, I'm torn between a mistrial.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm torn between guilty and a hung jury, but I'm leaning more toward the guilty than I am hung jury. But I could see a hung jury. Honestly, I can.
Oh, yeah. If they have a rogue juror on there that came into that courtroom and took one look at Richard Allen and said there is no way that that's that man, and then that was it, and tuned out and didn't listen, and it happens all the time on juries.
And I caught a lot of the jurors not even writing notes.
Now, what do you think? If it is a mistrial or a hung jury, do you think the state will retire it?
No.
And just let him walk? Or do you
No.
think
I cannot see them being able to afford to do anything else. But that's just me. I don't think they should. I think they should go right back after him. But I honestly don't know how they can afford it.
Well, me and Becky talked about this today, a few hours ago. She said, I really don't care if it's a hung jury, if he walks or whatever. She said, at least then I'll be able to speak finally on the whole matter.
She can speak now.
Not until the case is ended.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as the defense rested, she can talk.
Because she's under a gag order.
Yeah. As soon as the defense rested, it's over. It's just closing arguments and a verdict by then. So she can talk now. Now, I'm surprised. Do you guys remember those two women that were driving around and they went by Ron Logan's house and they spoke with him?
Yes.
And recorded it?
Yes.
And he said that my friend found the girls, Brown found the girls. And everybody thought that it was Erskine.
Right.
When it wasn't. It came out at trial that it was Brown.
Right. Well, a lot of us knew it was Brown. A lot of us knew it was Brown.
A lot of us did know that. But my question is why did Erskine do that? Why did he say all that?
Right. That's a good question.
I mean, I just don't understand
the whole thing with the deer. Saw the deer, zoomed in his phone and saw the girls. I mean, why was all that in there?
What was all that about?
Right. Yeah. And he claims he said that he found the clothes in the creek, which was not true. You know, because Becky had always asked me, I bet I know who put that out there. Dave Erskine's, you know. And I said, yeah. And then I'm just like, then when I heard about that, and then she told me the whole story. This is before the gag order even was put in place. She specifically broke it down for me and told me exactly what happened on how the girls were found. Pat Brown and her other sister were walking that trail going down toward Ron Logan's property. And she said, Pat said he looked and he said, man, why is there mannequins out here in the middle of the woods? And he said, we walked a little closer, and that's when her sister realized what it was, and she just let out this agonizing scream.
Elsa? Is that her name?
No, I want to say Melissa, I think is her name. I don't know the other sister.
Well, Fig told me way back, dude. He sent me a DM way back. We're talking like, I just started on YouTube like 2 weeks after he was arrested. And he told me way back in the beginning, this is way more boring than you think it is. It was one guy. He did it by himself. And he called it. I mean, he's on it. Fig's pretty smart.
He is
very smart,
intelligent, very intelligent.
What he does for a living, you have to be. I mean,
business analyst.
He goes in and helps companies fix problems.
I got to get in there.
He's really good at breaking things down and getting to the root of what things are. And I think that's what I love about him so much. And he does it on a level that everyone can understand. Maybe Fig should do the closing argument. No,
yeah, and he's not cynical.
No,
I mean, he basically told me, right down to my level, listen, it's not that complicated. It was one person that did it. And
I mean, with all of us that's been involved in this case over the years, we started to pick up on exactly what was taking place in here, and to actually get the courtroom to see and listen how it took place. It was like, man, this is the things that a lot of us were talking about over the years.
I always felt that it was one guy. I always felt he was local. I've always felt that the person that did this crime had to know where the bridge was. had to
Right.
know where that area across the creek was at. I mean, it's just like, you know, you're not going to have some random person just find that place and find that location. I always felt that way. And I always did feel that it was local. I said it's going to be somebody that goes to church with them, or somebody who they've talked to across the fence, you know, and had a beer with, or whatever. That's what it's going to be. I feel the same about Evansdale, Ruckus. I think
thought it was more than one person
I'll be
because of the
honest with you.
catfishing act. You know, the
What-
whole
well, we all
Anthony
went down
Shots.
that. I mean, there was
Yeah.
a moment
Yes.
when I played that reel, whatever you want to call it. I went down that rabbit hole with the Kleins and as everybody else did. But there, you know, after Richard Allen's arrest, I was like, no, this is one guy. This is simple. It's Occam's razor. You know, it's usually the simplest explanation.
But, you know,
Well,
I came into this about 2 weeks before he was arrested, and I didn't get, you guys that have been following this from Jump Street
Figs here.
had 5 years ahead of me and have already been down all these rabbit holes, and I still fell victim to that. I've learned a lot by getting on YouTube and doing shows and stuff like that. I've learned a lot. I need to just hold back and do my own work, you know, not listen to anybody else and do my own work. But I'll tell you, I would have sworn it was more than one person.
When the police come out at 10 o'clock at night on a Monday night and say, hey, after complete dead crickets around Delphi for years, and say, you know, we need you to reach out to us about this profile, Anthony Shots. I mean, we all just about lost our minds. I mean,
right.
we were like, what the heck is going on?
After
Who's
they
Anthony
told-
Shots?
and
Why are they doing this at 10 o'clock at night? I mean, there were so many questions.
after they done told the family that social media had nothing to do with this,
Yeah.
you know, and
But
when I got into
you know, that's part of the investigation too. You have to look at it that
Yeah, law enforcement is coy.
this is one of the things that I had trouble with Baldwin and Rosie with their defense of this case. Just because in the beginning they may have looked at Ron Logan, or they may have looked at you know, Brad Holder, or whoever they looked at to try to figure out, that's part of what an investigation is. You could hone in on the wrong person, but as you're getting your evidence and you're doing your investigation, oh wow, we were looking at that guy's cleared. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
then move on. That they kept going back to the fact that, well, you know, it's these guys and you never really looked at them. Yes, they did. They did look at them.
yeah,
And they looked at that angle because everybody on social media was looking at that angle and tipping them in.
I mean, when I first started getting into this case, I'm right along with Ruckus. I had a feeling just by the way the crime was done and the location of the crime, I knew that it was somebody that had some type of military training. I felt it because of the terrain. He knew what to do, where to go, how to get out of there.
And the way that he slit their throats.
Right.
That's
You know,
something you learn in the
He was a
military.
weekend warrior, okay?
But he
went to
still gets
drill
that-
one
he's still-
weekend a month and then 2 weeks out of the year.
but he still has 6 to 8 weeks of basic training on how to maneuver in the woods.
Yeah, dude, you went through basic training.
Yeah. That's
mean-
how I knew.
Yeah. And another thing is I know it's a HIPAA thing and all that, but his VA medical records. You know, if he's had all these problems, he was on Prozac, he has to tell them that. They're not just going to give him an M16 if he's on Prozac.
No, exactly.
So that never came up, but I'm sure that's a HIPAA thing. You know, but
It wouldn't be a HIPAA thing if I don't think it would be.
No, it's not anymore. Because my judge buddy told me, when you've been charged with a crime of murder, HIPAA doesn't apply anymore.
Right. I mean, that
Hey,
makes sense. You
hey,
know,
listen, Kristen, tell your judge buddy that I was charged with assault with a friendly weapon,
a friendly, a
but it got
friendly-
thrown. But it got thrown out for lack of evidence. Can they retry me?
but I will agree at the onset of this case, after I got to know the crime scene and the terrain and everything, I was right along with Ruckus. I believed it was at least 2, maybe 3 people at that point, you know, just by the way things were done, you know. Not a lot of people. I'm not afraid of somebody pointing a gun at me, because if you're going to kill me, you're going to kill me. You know, that's just the way it is. Military training does that to you. They manipulate your brain to think, well, you're going to die, so you're going to have to accept it. And that's the way I think. If somebody's pointing a gun at me, shoot me, dude. Just get it over with. Now, when it comes to young children, as Abby and Libby, they don't know how to control the fear that goes through their brain, so their body freezes up, you know. And I understand why nobody heard them. They didn't scream or anything because the fear factor took over their brain. And
There's many crimes where the victim doesn't scream. I mean, that's to me just not a.
That
We're
happens all
talking
the
about
time.
children here, guys, that are petrified and probably absolutely,
in shock,
yeah, exactly.
you know.
And
But then again,
unfortunately,
as
this
far
is not.
as the
I
case
mean,
went along, we started to understand it was just one person, because
this
there was
happens
no
all the time, and it's going to
huh?
continue to happen. This kind of thing happens all the time, and it's going to
Yes,
continue to happen. Unfortunately,
yes.
you know.
And the fact that they had no defensive wounds is because I believe he bound them. And I know that they said that looked at like Abby probably was bound, but stop and think about it. All he needed was zip ties. I mean, he didn't need much, to bind them.
But I'm
They would know
still
that. That would be part of the autopsy. They would know that.
right, and he couldn't determine if duct tape was being used on Abby's mouth, or if it was just something wrapped around her mouth
Or
because
his
it left
hand. It
something.
could have been his hand covering
Right,
Abby's mouth.
you know,
Yeah.
and it still bothers me. And we talked about this last night, Kristen, that Abby didn't have one drip of blood on her hands, none.
Well, her
So
hands were inside the sweatshirt, the pullover hoodie. Her hands were inside of it.
I get that, Ruckus, but the doctor
But does that mean that she had the sweatshirt on when the wound was made?
exactly.
Well, didn't they testify that uh, Libby was dressed when she was killed?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
No. Libby was not dressed when she was killed.
right. But like I was saying, Dr. Core, he said that the sweatshirt absorbed all the blood. So if your hands are inside your shirt like this, and the whole sweatshirt has got blood all through it, you would think that some of the blood would have got on her hands.
Right. But we shouldn't have these questions, Frank. That's my point. We shouldn't
Yeah,
have these questions. So I hope during closing arguments that they explain all of this,
Right.
you know?
And
And I want to give a special shout out to Deb's True Crime Notebook.
boy, she is
She's been
fabulous
awesome.
with her work.
Yeah, she's been awesome.
Yes, very much so. I see some new names in here. If you guys have not gone over to True Crime Notebooks channel, please go over there and subscribe to her channel and help her out and get her algorithms up. She's doing fabulous. She passed me up in subs with her work that she's been doing just on videos, and I'm very impressed with her work.
Do you guys think he was wearing gloves?
No, yeah, I
Yes.
do. Yes.
Absolutely.
And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and said, "What is it common for crime scenes not to have DNA from the perpetrator?" And I said, "Oh yeah, it is very common.
It's very, very common,
Very
especially
common.
outside.
Right? Most
Totally
people with common sense, if they're going to commit a crime like that, they're going to do anything they can to keep from leaving any type of themselves at the crime scene.
But we've all
DNA
been
is
to
so
that
well
creek.
known now that people are more careful, I think, to try to keep their DNA from being left.
But we've all been to that creek.
There's a
And
lot of
there's-
ways to SM somebody. You don't have to have this person I'm talking to in chat. You don't have to have penetration.
No.
There's all kinds of ways to molest someone. And somebody said it the other day, just by having them undress and strip is considered an assault.
Yep.
Well,
exactly.
that's what Doug Carter was talking about. This is about control.
Mhm.
It's all about control. They get off on that.
On
And
the
they'll
fear.
return to the crime scene and masturbate, thinking about what
Absolutely.
happened. It happens all the time. But, here's the thing. We've all been to the crime scene. We've seen the banks on both sides.
Yep.
Mhm.
We know that those banks were muddy because it had snowed and it was melting, and they were steep on both sides. So why were there no footprints?
There was.
There was footprints. They had boot prints. That's why they went to Packers looking for boots.
Okay,
Because
why
there's that
didn't
one
they? Why
picture
didn't
of
they find out Richard Allen's? They were Richard Allen's.
Good
there's
question.
that one picture of Liggett standing at the bank looking down at the footprints.
I've seen that, but
Yeah.
I didn't see footprints.
There was a footprint there.
I know
So
they
they
said
would
there
have
were
had to-
footprints.
If he
Wow.
attacked them on the other side of the creek, and that van spooked him, so he forced the girls across the creek. That's what the prosecution is saying.
Right.
Yeah.
There is
And-
no evidence of that.
Yes,
And did
there
he
is.
return to the creek and
Abby's
throw the clothes in there?
shoes have silt on the bottom of them from the bottom of the creek. That was testified to on the stand.
Okay. So
So
we
they
know
know
they
that-
crossed it, but I'm saying, how is there no evidence on the bank? Was there pictures of that? I wasn't there.
I think they were without shoes, Ruckus. Honest to God, I do.
Then how
think-
did she get soot on the bottom of her shoes from the creek?
I think she had her shoes on and then her shoes were taken off when she got to the other side. He made her take her shoes off
And then put back on?
because they said the bottoms of her feet were dirty.
Okay. And I know that Libby had her own blood on the bottom of her feet, which
Yes.
means that at some point she was standing and stepped in her own blood.
Yes.
Piper's
So-
Dream, there's my email.
So how if and I'm just playing the devil's advocate here because I believe he's guilty.
I know you do.
Okay. But how did she step in her own blood during the
He
attack?
already had an
But
injury.
yet he did not. There's no
Because she had more than one injury to her neck.
Yes.
I mean, he there were over 4 cuts to her. So she
the
was
first
being,
one didn't take her down.
yeah, and she was standing when it happened. And that's
Yeah.
probably when probably the first or second cut is when she went like this. You know what I mean? Because to me, that's like a
Natural reaction.
just a natural reaction if somebody slits that. You know what I mean?
Do you think he attacked Abby first?
Yes.
Yes, I
Do
do.
you think Abby was conscious or unconscious?
I think she was unconscious. And I don't know
now
why.
how was she unconscious?
I
She
don't
has
know why.
No.
I've
Yes.
got an answer for that.
Let's hear it.
Hypothermia. Going through that creek with no clothes on, 20-something degree water, and it's what, 40 degrees outside?
Mm-hmm.
I see hypothermia doing that to you.
Maybe she was afraid. When
Especially
Bonnie
as
yelled at
little
me,
as
I
she was,
passed
because
out.
she wasn't even 100 pounds.
Yeah, she was 95 pounds.
And her reaction to this whole thing that's going on, like I said, when Bonnie yells at me, I pass out. I get afraid. I pass out. I'm like one of them fainting goats. She yells at me and I hit the deck.
That's like when your mama used to yell at you when you were a kid.
That's where I lost trust issues. That whole, come here, I'm not going to hit you. Come here, I'm not going to hit you. That's where I got my trust issues.
Yep. And then the next thing you know, you're getting your ass kicked.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but it always made me wonder if if he did have gloves on and he was all layered up the way he was, did he sweat? Did his sweat get dropped on the girls? That's why they couldn't get a full profile, because his sweat. And that's where they got the male DNA from.
Some of these issues now that we're having is because they didn't test some of that stuff because it would consume the DNA. So they're waiting until the technology catches up as well.
Well, they didn't even have enough of the male blood to test, from my understanding.
Yeah, because Paul Holes talked about that. Whenever you have a crime scene that is this fluid with the victim's blood, as this one was, and you have blood from the assailant mixed with it, their blood was so much that it was going to dilute whatever was left by the perpetrator. And I believe that's what happened in this case, sadly. And they didn't have enough. I think that their Ruckus is right. I think it's going to catch up. I think DNA will catch up and they'll be able to get it eventually, but not right now.
It'll be too late then.
There should have been fingerprints and or DNA, trace DNA on that ejected round. It should have been there.
Well, they're saying that if he used gloves, there wouldn't have been.
Well, if he used gloves to load that magazine,
you know how hard it is to load a magazine with gloves on?
Well, if he used surgical gloves, I don't know. When I'm thinking of him wearing gloves, I'm thinking of him wearing surgical gloves.
If he is guilty, and I believe he is.
And I believe that is exactly what he would have used since he worked in a pharmacy.
Well, then we got lucky, didn't we? That he didn't kill anybody else for 5 years.
Dr. Kaur did say they found male DNA on the genital area of one of the girls.
From what I understand, that was the same. Listen, when you get DNA from semen, they don't say it's semen. It's an indicator of DNA that is found in semen. So there's a difference between sperm and semen. So from what I understand, they found something that is an indicator from semen, but they could not get a full profile from it yet. Now, did they consume that evidence?
You said that they did get. You think they got the profile from semen?
No.
From the genital area, they got some DNA, not enough to build a profile, but they know it was from a male. Now, it's not, they can't say it was semen, but it's one of the indicators that's found in semen. But they can't say that for sure. Now, they may have consumed that. And that's the trick. Steve and I work in a couple cases where, Steve is paying to have DNA tested. And it's like, this is last ditch. We're working cold cases, consuming if you need to, And
but Dr. Kaur did say that male DNA can come from anywhere. Think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it.
It come from her house.
If the girl's clothes were washed with male clothes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the male was folding their panties or their underwear, he's going to leave touch DNA in it, and it's going to touch the girls.
But that'll be familiar DNA.
But they still can't tell you if it's familiar DNA because they don't have a profile to test it.
Well, here's the thing, Frank. For that to be valid, right? They would have to say that they had two washing machines. They washed the girls' clothes and the females' clothes in one and the males in another. So there's an argument for everything. And that's why I say I still have questions. Like I said, I believe he's guilty, but a hung jury would not surprise me. It's not going to be not guilty. That's not going to happen. And he'll have to go through the whole appellate thing. But I can't see them, and unless they can bring in this third party stuff, I don't think they have a prayer on appeal.
Well,
if he's found guilty.
Think about this. Why would they file for appeal? My opinion is they knew that he's going to be found guilty, and that's why they filed all this stuff to build it for the appeal. That's my opinion. They believe he's going to be found guilty.
Dude, everything that they have done has been appeal fodder.
Right.
Everything. Just
love
to get it on the record.
which I think is funny because appeals very rarely go through. It's very rare for an appeal to actually go through and you get to overturned. It happens, but it's rare. Love to Hunt says, in my opinion, Abby and Libby were extremely cold after crossing water. He forced Abby to get dressed by racking the gun. When he cut Libby, Abby passed out.
Yeah, you saw the injury.
Then he cut Libby again. Abby was awake. He cut her, and then he cut Libby again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense. I didn't even think about Abby being the one to pass out by seeing what happened to Libby.
Now,
but why? I mean, law enforcement has all this. Why wouldn't they? Well, maybe they will.
I think he's got to. I think he's got to give the jury a synopsis of what happened in that woods, at least in his mind, and what law enforcement was able to glean from the crime scene, the photos, the wounds to the body, everything that was forensically gathered. Steve could speak better to that than me, but I mean, I think they have to lay out what they think happened in the woods. In closing, they can't leave it open-ended. Not in the jury's mind.
Yeah. Gray Hughes is in here.
Oh, hey, Gray.
Hey, Gray, what's going on? Tara just sent me Gray wants to come up. Hold on, Gray. I'll send you the link. Send me your email, dude, to my text. Tara just sent me a photo because Susan and Aspen are all up at the doghouse. Guess who's up there, sitting up there right now?
Oh, good God. Oh,
Noe and Rainbow Bright.
Oh, my God.
That's okay. They have a right to be there.
It's just odd that they would do it in a place where two family members work.
That's not odd to me at all.
That is odd to me. It's like they're antagonizing them. You know what I mean?
That's what it makes me feel. You know if Anna's there?
Anna?
Yeah, is she working?
At the doghouse? I didn't know she worked at the doghouse.
I thought you said she did.
I wish I was there. I'd be singing some Elvis on.
No, it's Amanda and Tara that work at the doghouse.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I'm getting ready to call.
Does she work at the office?
No.
Not anymore. She used to, right?
Yeah, she used to. Hold on. Gray's wanting to come up. I got to get his email. All right.
Just throw it in the chat. You don't have to let anybody on that you don't want to.
It's easier for me to do it this way now. Give me a second. Gray Hughes 2.
Oh, you doxing him?
No. It's easier for me to do it this way because people have to scroll through the chat and everything, try to find it.
Now, I really haven't, I've moved on to Evansdale. I've been following the trial through you guys and some other people. I've been on the Evansdale, period. But I can tell you some stories about confinement, close management,
right. I know
detective
you can.
custody, death row.
I know you can.
Yeah, I can tell you stories. I mean, I'm going to show you this right. I mean, I know it's dark here.
There you go, Gray. It's in your email, bud.
But I always keep these two with me. This is my death row.
I can't see that, dude, because you ain't got no lighting.
Well, you can see that. That's my death row.
I cannot see that, dude.
This.
What the hell is
my deputy cuff? Because this little thing right here is for,
I see what it is now.
This little thing right here is for flex cuffs. To take flex cuffs off, which are basically zip ties. But I've been through it all. I'm not going to say I've seen it all because as soon as I say that, something happens. But yeah, Gail, DNA could come from anywhere. That touch DNA in the Idaho 4 case, they have 5 to 8 skin cells on that button of that knife sheath. And they were able to get familiar DNA off of that and find out that his dad was the father of whoever did this.
Right.
So it's getting better and better. But these outdoor cases, Mr. Steve can tell you, if there's something 10 feet away from you as a crime scene investigator, it may take you an hour to get to that because you have to cover and grid out every inch on the way to that thing that you see. It takes forever.
Gray, I sent you the email with a link to your email. He wants to come up and show us his animated timeline. Gray has probably got the best timeline there is out there.
Oh, he absolutely does.
And I do.
Mean,
you know what?
If you watch that, there's no way when you see it that you don't see who's who, you know?
Everybody, let's welcome Gray Hughes to the show.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, buddy? Good to see you.
Fankmeister.
Got Ruckus and Kristen up here too.
Gray, how are you?
Wait, I got to turn on my audio. There you go.
Thank you.
I think I had my YouTube was still playing for a second there.
Are you live now as well, Gray?
No, that was my his channel I had playing over here. So I had two voices at the same time.
Okay.
It's causing the circular feedback loop, I guess you'd call it. But you know, it's pretty amazing. If everybody got to see the timeline.
Yes.
It's so obvious. I mean, Richard Allen is Bridge Guy. There isn't a doubt in the world, and it's just bizarre that if the jury could somehow see something similar, they would have that same feeling, and then everything else would be kind of put into place after that.
We didn't have an exact timeline until they told us about Libby's step counter stopping at 232.
Yeah, well, that part, the thing is, Bridge Guy is locked in even on the probable cause. That's why for a year and a half, I've been telling everybody that Richard Allen is the Bridge Guy because but there's now new information that came out today, and it matches what I was saying. I said that the four girls were likely on the Freedom Bridge at I would say 220, but it came out today it was 225. And what's amazing about that is that those four girls not only prove that Richard Allen's coming in after 126, but they also clear the entire path for Richard Allen's secondary story where he said, "Hey, I got there at 12 and I left at 1:30." Well, that's complete bullcrap because these girls were at the Freedom Bridge at 225. They walked all the way to the Freedom Bridge. Richard Allen should be sitting there, right? He should be standing there, but he's not there. Then they walked all the way back, and at 126, they still hadn't seen Richard Allen. They only see him at just after 126 as they're leaving. He comes in, so they would have actually seen him during their entire time there. So that proves that story is bogus when he said 12 to 1:30.
Well, Rayleigh said that she had to be home and she was crossing the Freedom Bridge somewhere between 1:30 and 1:40.
Yeah, it makes sense, because but it was actually like 1:44. I mean, okay, so so that works perfectly.
And then the original PC, they mentioned that, and then nobody saw him after that time. Betsy Blair saw him, and that was key. That nobody saw him after that. So he didn't leave and go back down the trail. If he just went there to look at the fish and then he walked back down the trail to his car, somebody would have saw him.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of like after the fact. My thing is like the evidence that is shown here proves that he is the guy that actually followed. Yeah, on the bridge. All right. So you want me? I can show it, and you'd have to make mine the main one and everybody else smaller if you want to, because I can switch over to a different. Let me see if I go to this one. Hold on.
Now, Gray, let me ask you this: do you have any questions that haven't been answered? Because I'm with you, dude. He's guilty.
Yeah, which one hasn't been answered? I don't know. It's just like I don't think they drew out the information from different people in some instances where, like, for example, when he took the daughter went across the bridge with him, I think they should have said, so your dad helped you across, encouraged you, and that would have made it okay. So he's he's been across that bridge, but they didn't ask something like that. It's just that they went across.
But that still doesn't make him guilty. And like
no, but you need all the different circumstantial pieces of evidence in there that added up. So that would be another piece that he was really familiar with crossing that bridge which everybody believed at the very beginning that the person out there must have been very familiar, knew how to get down the cross, and that would have added that in there that he was familiar. But I think she was probably coached and ready to say, like if somebody said, "So your dad was really familiar with the bridge," she would have said, "I don't think so."
Well,
then,
they drove that point home when they cross-examined, when they were examining her on the stand. You know, Then when she said, "Yeah, I've been out the trails with my dad. I've been on the bridge with my dad. I've crossed the bridge with my dad." Right there, like Gray said, that tells you right there the dude knew his way around the area.
Yeah, and he'd been out there many times, all kinds of photographs and stuff. But here, I'll show you this right here real quick.
If you guys see that.
Yeah, so mine actually starts, let me get rid of this little green dot there. Yeah, now it's just clear. So you can see the, I think it's clear. How come that green dot's still sitting there? Hold on, let me get rid of that. There we go. Yeah, so right there, these are the 4 girls. I just had 3 spheres because there was just 3 witnesses. But there's 4 girls. Now we learned today, though, at 12:25, those girls were here. And I thought maybe it was 12. Well, no, I think it was 12:20. And I can't remember if it was 12:25 or 12:20, but I predicted one of those. It was close to that. It was within 5 minutes. So
now, is this your original?
That means when yeah, I've made this thing. So at 2,
because you were spot on with your original one, Gray. You were spot on.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And right here, you got these. They're right here at the bridge at like 2:20, 2:25.
Make Gray bigger, will you? So everybody.
Yeah, you got to make me the main screen where you guys were all little off to the side.
Oh, can you make mine bigger too while you're at it?
Ruckus, behave.
The main screen.
I can't tell what it looks like. Oh, there it is. Yeah, like you. So you just click one of those options below it.
That's what I'm going through all of them. That's not it.
It looks like the one that has like, oh yeah, I don't know how you do that.
That ain't it.
Maybe just click on my thing.
I did, and it's not doing it.
That's perfect if you can switch that to Gray.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I think you can do it. You present their window.
Yeah, you would have to send it to me to present it.
Yeah, do you have share full screen, Gray?
Maybe I don't. Let's see. Hold on. Maybe that's what I don't have.
But Louise, just to answer Louise real quick, I'm not going to talk about with me and Coy Cox talking about.
Like you can't make it like, let's say I was talking. You wouldn't be able to make my screen bigger?
No, not on my end. I would have to send it. You would have to send it to me to present it.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
But I don't
be able to do it on your end because people are going to be looking at it through a TV and it'll be a lot bigger.
On your screen below, Gray, do you see where it says present down below?
Oh yeah, how about the share? Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
and do share and share your screen. I think that'll take it. I think that'll do it.
Let's see. How about that one? Okay, is that good? I guess we have to add that one.
There we go.
Oh, okay, that's cool. All right. I guess we have to. Now we're blocking everything.
There we go.
Now we're blocking everything now. All of our pictures. Weirdly. Is there a way to put us off to the side to the left? There is a choice.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, good. There we go. Perfect. All right. So these 4 girls right here, they actually got here at 12:20, 12:25. They were right here. Bree took a picture. Then they walked all the way down this trail.
Mm-hmm.
And this is new stuff, so I don't have it animated in there. They walked all the way down this trail until they got to the bridge. You know, who knows what they were doing. They took pictures here and there. But when they got to the bridge, they took a photograph at 12:43, and they still hadn't seen Richard Allen or anybody that looked like him at that point.
Right, and Bree even said that today when they brought her up for the rebuttal.
Yeah, and so, you know, what's weird is I actually texted them a couple days ago. I said, hey, the 3 girls actually clear his other alibi timeline. And all I got back was, yep. So they probably already had that information, but it goes like this. So at 12:43, the 3 or 4 girls are walking this direction. I mean, there's 4, but I just have 3 in the picture here. And then at 1:26, they stop right here at a bench, and there's a photograph of it. So that locks in a time when they're actually heading out. And then, right at that time, 126, at 127, see that black car I have going by right there?
Yeah.
That's a vehicle that matches Richard Allen's 2016 black Ford Focus. And then it parks at the abandoned CPS building right over here. He even said he parked at an old building. And even at trial, his information that he said points to that building right there. And then Richard Allen gets out of the car. Let's say he got out 129 or so, walks over here. He probably passes the girls right here at 133 to 135. And those three girls saw him, and he saw them. And at this point, this is Richard Allen right here. Okay, so that blue dot right now is Richard Allen. There's no doubt about it. His car drove by right here. He said he went to the bridge. He passed those three. He saw three of the four girls when he walked onto the trails, and they saw him, and he saw them. Their descriptions were slightly different, but when they asked each one, and they were showed the picture of the bridge guy, they all said, "Yep, that's the person we saw."
And
Okay.
Betsy Blair saw them as she
Right, but I'm just
walked
trying to go
onto
through the. I'm just trying to go through the timeline, Ruckus.
Oh, I'm
That's-
sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
So they all passed each other right there, and so that's about 135. Let's just say 135, and it takes 11 minutes to walk from. That's fast to get from here to the start of the bridge.
Well, they did say he was in. It was like he was in a hurry.
Right, exactly. Yeah, his head down. So let's just say 10 to 11 minutes. Let's just say 10 because he was really hustling, or 11. We could even say it doesn't.
He
really
was
matter.
on a mission.
Right, he's on a mission, and Betsy Blair said it looked like he was waiting for somebody, which is
walking
kind of
with a
interesting.
purpose.
So then let's say right here, it takes 11 minutes. So Richard Allen, then he went straight to the bridge, and he'd be there at 146. And if you can see right here, there is Betsy Blair driving right underneath Old State Road 25, looks up and sees the four girls, then goes around like this, and she drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store at 146. So 145, she likely goes under here, looks up and sees them. And that verifies that the one girl who said it was 2:15 when she left is just wrong. She doesn't remember it correctly.
That was Riley.
Yeah, and then the vehicle drives by and then parks across from the Mears property. The red car is Betsy Blair. She got to the parking spot 1 minute after Richard Allen would have got to the start of the bridge. So then after Betsy Blair gets out of the car, Richard Allen right here would have no time to have ran back and be past her over here. There would be 1 minute. He would have to run as fast as he could, like Carl Lewis or something, to get past Betsy Blair. You see what I'm saying? So like he just gets there. She pulls up. He cannot have ran by and been over here somewhere where she'd miss him. So then Betsy Blair continues her walk from earlier in the day. She gets there, starts walking, and she's exercising. And just 2 minutes or 3 minutes, probably 2 minutes after she got out of her car, Kelsey parks there and drops Abby and Libby off and then drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store camera at 149. And Abby and Libby, they're just hanging out, taking pictures, so they're not moving quickly, where Betsy Blair is walking, exercising. And she gets to the bridge, where she originally said she got to the bridge and it was 50 feet away. Turns out she turned around at the barricade, which puts her 111 feet from platform 1, where she saw an individual standing. That's exactly the platform that Richard Allen said he was standing on. The person that she saw, she described as the same person in Libby's video. And Richard Allen himself said he was wearing the exact same clothing as the person in Libby's video. So at this point, Richard Allen's standing right there. And then Betsy Blair turns around and walks this way and then passes Abby and Libby about halfway back. And Abby and Libby would have reached the bridge at about 2 o'clock because Betsy Blair would have been there about 1:53, turned around 3 or 4 minutes later, walked by and passed Abby and Libby, and they're walking slower. So they probably got to the bridge at 2 o'clock. And then Betsy Blair continues, I believe, all the way to the Freedom Bridge, turns around and walks back, never sees Richard Allen, the same person that was on the bridge, never sees him. And then she gets to her car, and you can see, I think Richard Allen sort of backed off into the woods a little bit, let them feel safe. Then as he saw them cross, he came coming towards them like that. And then Betsy Blair gets into her car at 2:14, drives away. Then Richard Allen has him go down the hill. And that's right there in his confession, said he racked a gun. They went down the hill, and then he was going to assault them, probably back in this corner down here. And then if I zoom in on this map, it's easier to see. So I always thought that this area here, he meant to assault them and they escaped. But in this case, He was probably going to assault them right down in here, kind of hidden back in this corner. And then right at that time, at 2:02, let's see, it was Brad Weber just got off of work, probably got to his car at 2:04, takes 20 to 25 minutes. So that means between, so it'd be like 2:24 to 2:29. His white van was driving by right here. And in Richard Allen's confession, he said, "Oh, I got nervous by a white van," or a van. I don't know if he said white, that drove by. And so we then took them across the creek over here. And then he says I think he continued to do whatever he was going to do. And then eventually he killed them. He made sure that they were dead. And then he covered them with sticks. And then he goes up the bank right here through the cemetery, starts heading down. Sarah Carbaugh drives by, sees about a bunch of people standing here because they're about ready to start searching. Then she drives by and passes Richard Allen, or, I'll just call this guy the Muddy and Bloody guy. This person isn't even important for me. But anyways, right here, the Muddy and Bloody guy, he also would have seen that there were a bunch of people standing here.
And hightailed it. Oh, there you go.
Like this.
Yep.
To the car and got out of there. But you see how Richard Allen has to be this guy right here. There is no.
I asked a family member in the court today. Yeah. So tell me, where did he go after Sarah Carbaugh saw him? And they just looked at me, and they wouldn't tell me because apparently they know where he went.
Who? I mean, his family?
No, the girl's family.
They know where Richard Allen. Well, everybody knows where Richard Allen went after he saw Sarah Carbaugh. He went.
Well, what I'm saying is, if he would have kept up 300, he would have been caught on the Harvest Store camera. But he wasn't.
You mean after the crime scene? Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Tara.
Hi,
Tara. Tara German's in here, guys.
Hey, it's Tara, the legend.
Okay, so
I love her
just
to death.
interject for a second? Let me interject for 1 second. If he wasn't caught on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera, either the sensitivity of that camera didn't pick him up, or he walked through that field. Right. Now, it had snowed. The snow was melting.
But he wouldn't have walked by. He wouldn't have walked by. There was no snow on the ground. He wouldn't have walked by the same people stacked in front of the Mears parking spot to say, "Hey, everybody, look at me. I'm Muddy and Bloody." Because that's when you'd walk by the Hoosier Harvest Store. There's just no way he would do that.
Why did that Hoosier Harvest Store pick him up?
Well, we just explained that. He walked back behind it. All right,
so why was there no... the snow was melting, Gray?
There was no snow.
It was already melting.
There was no snow on the ground.
No, it did snow, but it was melting.
It already melted.
There was no snow on the ground at all. I've seen all the photos from right around that day. Even in Abby's photograph on the bridge, there's no snow or anything on there.
But my question is, though, is if he walked behind the Hoosier Harvest Store, come back on 300, went to his car, wouldn't the camera picked him up walking to his car from behind?
What's that again? Said Tara asked me.
If they seen him, the Harvester Store camera saw the car being parked at the CPS building, right? It was able to pick it up.
I don't think it did.
Well, my question is, if he walked through the field behind the Hoosier Harvest Store and came back out on 300 to go to his car, wouldn't the camera have picked him up?
No.
No, if he just look at it like this, he goes back like this.
Yeah, he goes
He's
straight
back here.
across there.
That camera's looking at it like that. It's kind of looking at the road like this. I think the camera, there is a camera on this side of the building right there.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're using a camera that's like over here filming back to the road over here, which is weird. I don't know what's on that camera. I had somebody go there in 2018 and there was a camera right in the front of that building. So I don't know if there's nothing on it. It's right there. It would film that road, but they're using this one. So I just think there's no way he went walking by.
Oh, I don't either. He
when
went
there's people
behind
there.
That building, and then, like you said, went catty corner, that right straight to the CPS.
But why didn't the defense address that?
What do you mean? Why didn't they? There's nothing for them to address. How are they going? They don't even want him to be there. They don't even want to make him.
No, I agree.
That's why they didn't talk about it.
But when law enforcement says, "Listen, we have his car with those rims, and he's the only one in that county that has that car with those style of rims on it," Why didn't the defense rebut that?
Because they can't. They know it's him.
Right. No, I agree. And you know, Kristen, I agree.
Yeah.
He's guilty. He did it.
Everybody
That's
give a
why-
shout out to Fig Solves. Fig Solves is in the house.
Yep. He's been here for a while.
Yeah, he has that good confession timeline I just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I mean,
also gives a great explanation as to why the headphone jack went off.
I think it's like water or dirt.
Mud or
Water or dirt or
Agreed.
mud. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just kind of. They even said that, I guess, in court, but they go, well, you just looked that up. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So what if he just looked it up?
Cicero
It doesn't
did
matter
say
if you looked it up. It's still there. It's still.
Yeah,
Yeah, Cicero did say that.
right. How dare you look something up to try to get an answer?
So if he walked through the field and went behind Mears and went behind the Hoosier Harvest store,
That's what I think.
I mean that's very conceivable.
Yeah, and also you wouldn't even know what that guy. You're not even focusing on a random dude walking around. At
Yeah,
that point, they're just
Looking for
wondering.
girls.
You're just wondering where the girls are, and they're not thinking about some guy. So if you walked off into that field, nobody would go, "Ooh, look at there's a guy there. They must have." You wouldn't even have any idea that person did anything, nor would you be looking over there. You're talking to your family
So
members.
do you think that he layered up intentionally, and then when he went through that field, he dumped the bloody clothes, took the bloody clothes off there? That's why they didn't get no DNA out of his car.
Well, I think he might have just when he got to his car had some place to put it. Maybe there was a bag or something just to put.
What about the CPS building?
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, at the CPS building, maybe.
Well, what I mean is that it was abandoned, and you could just walk right through it.
Oh, could you actually go in it?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he just he wanted to get the hell out of there quick, but probably really minimized, like Koberger, the blood exposure inside the vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
so that, and then in his case, he had 5 years to go wash and do this and that and the other thing, and there's nothing there, So
Tara just gave you $49.99.
Who?
hey, all right.
Tara German.
Oh, Tara, you didn't have to do that. You got to help Josh with his racing.
Yeah.
Josh Jr.
I don't think I've ever seen Tara on my show. She probably gets too.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank
I
you.
don't know what it is. Maybe once a long time ago she showed up.
And I'm just still confused on the
She
fact
just said you're not her boss.
I'm talking to you, Gray.
Yeah, what? Oh,
You're
No,
not
she
her
was
boss.
talking to you.
talking to
She
me.
said,
She wasn't
"Frank,
talking to me. She was talking to you, Frank.
talking to you. She says, Frank, you're not my boss.
Yeah, she was talking to you.
I wasn't trying to be her boss.
She's saying after you said, "Don't give me anything," she said, "You're not the boss of me," basically.
Well,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like Tara. I love her to death because me and her, she reminds me of myself. Don't take shit from nobody.
I met her I think at CrimeCon. She's kind of shy over there. She doesn't want to get on a camera.
Oh, trust
Yeah.
me. I've been around enough of her, around her enough for the last few years. She's not shy about nothing.
Probably when you're out, just hanging out, stuff like that. But anyways, when you look at this, don't you just think, like, how can it not be? There's no way you'd have to. Here's the one out that he has. Let me show you. I'll show you where it is. Watch this. So it's right here. Richard Allen goes right here. And then the girls come by. Now watch right here. Right when Betsy Blair's heading that way, if he passes the girls right now, you see that? And then just kind of imagine Betsy Blair would continue on. So let me go back. Right here. Betsy Blair's heading that way. And he could pass right now and then go out through the Mears parking area, take a left on 300. The only problem is that would be at like 2 o'clock. And he said he was there till 3:30.
Right.
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 So it's just, and at that point, though, that would be, there's nobody really there to have seen him. So you could say that.
Except
But
the camera. Except
it
the
doesn't-
camera.
Right. Yeah. In that case, you would be walking by the Hoosier
Now,
Harvest.
where do you guys think that he went? Because that picture at 213 of Abby on the bridge, there's nobody behind her. And when
That's
Steve and I
because
were
he's-
there, we timed
Ruckus,
how
that's
long it takes from that bend. It doesn't look like much of a bend on this graphic.
But there is a bend. He was in the trees. It's just like Randy said. Randy's in the chat. Randy's been out there so many times and
I just think he went back like
but
about
yeah,
right
he was hiding in the trees. You can't see
They
him.
said he was stalking them.
Yeah.
So you think
Yeah.
that he saw them when
Yeah.
they came around the bend and then he hid?
Well, I think he saw them, but he might have been standing on the bridge, but then saw them coming towards him and then went past him. I actually don't think he went hiding. I think he went past them to make it look like he was leaving too,
And then
to make them feel comfortable.
Right.
And he waited back and watched and watched and watched, and then he saw them go out on the bridge, and then he started getting closer. He's still back far enough in Abby's picture you can't see him, but then they go further across. Then he makes his move, and he's very. You can get across that bridge in 3.5 minutes. I have a friend that went across in 3.5 minutes, and he makes his way across, and just absolutely is making up ground. And Abby's really slow and methodically going across. Catches up to him right on the other side, and Libby's already off the other side, and that's why she's like, "Hey, you can go down here." And then Abby finally, she's heading there, and hey, don't leave me up here, because he'd be standing out the end of the bridge, and
he was already behind her, pretty close. He was up on them when Abby said that.
Yeah, it was like 50. We had him at 56 feet total away when he's seen in that little 2-second clip that was released.
Right.
So that's really
crime
close.
of opportunity then.
Could be. There's also, the Keegan Kline scenario, which is absolutely crazy. Even though they could never find a connection, it's absolutely stunning that on the very morning he drives over to his mother's house, just right next to Peru, Indiana, where Keegan Kline lives. I mean,
with somebody close to there logged on to that Wi-Fi.
I don't know.
Keegan Kline was selling burner phones and the people, and those people were selling burner phones, and Richard Allen had got one.
Now the stock ticker didn't come up either. I mean, that's not hard to prove that he was watching a stock ticker.
Right.
Well, because his phone wasn't there. Their phone wasn't even there.
My family members that are detectives asked me, did they bring up his cell records? Because they would have been able to, they had his IMEI number. So they would have been able to get all of that information. Even if they don't have the phone from his provider, they could have gotten.
And it wasn't there. And it never showed up. See, again, that disproves his story. The story that he told Dan Doolin was, oh, yeah, I was looking at my stock ticker. Well, your phone wasn't even there. And by the way, why isn't that phone one of the treasure troves of phones that you had piled around your house? You just happened to not keep the one that...
Exactly. That's when I had Cheryl McCollum on my show, that's what she said. She was like, he's got over 35 devices, but he doesn't have the one from 2017.
Well,
how convenient, right?
What's that?
How convenient. He didn't have the phone for 2017 when they searched.
Well, what's amazing is it sounds sort of like Keegan Kline. He did the same thing. Remember when the police went over to his house?
Yep.
The only phone he didn't give them was the phone he was using the day of the murders, and then he goes down and gets interviewed. The polygraph test comes home, and then he miraculously pulls the phone out and starts uninstalling, deleting apps. But he freely gave them all the other phones that were just chock filled with CSAM material.
That's what I believe. Honestly, I do. I think there was CSAM involved with Richard Allen. That's just my opinion.
I absolutely believe that. I believe that this guy was living in that world and nobody knew it.
And he was a sex addict at that.
Right. And you know that one video, have you ever seen that one? I sent it to Fig Solves today, where it's a video I recorded off the screen on their Facebook page early on, like right after he was arrested. And he's looking at something in his car.
Yeah, when
his wife walks out.
Yeah.
And I slowed it down. He's actually looking at like an iPad or something, and he quickly covers it up with something. Like, what? Why would you do that?
What are you looking at that you don't want your wife to see?
He was off because she snuck up on him.
Yeah, and in that video, does it look like he's not in charge there? I mean, it didn't look like she's keeping him sane. Like she's the one that.
Oh, he was pissed.
Right, exactly. That's a total bogus story.
No, those eyes were just like Friday when I was in court all day and I saw him and he saw me and he looked at me. Those piercing eyes of his, I'm not kidding you. Even like Susan said, that is just, it's scary. I mean, it is really scary to look at that man.
Man, I'm so envious of you guys.
Here. Let me
What's
ask you here. Do you think one of the girls could have unmasked him to where they would have recognized him and he had to do what he had?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, if he intended on just raping them and not killing them, they could have unmasked him as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
I
that
think
they
he was
were,
going to kill him.
they were in the CVS. Come on, you guys. That they would recognize who he
Right.
was.
I think he was going to kill him regardless.
Yeah,
I agree.
Tara, I was
I
in
agree.
court. Tara, I sat right behind you. I was directly behind you, sitting next to Marv. She's like screaming, "Wait, you was in court?"
Oh yeah, last weekend.
Yeah.
Hey, ask Tara. Hey, Tara, what do you think? What do you feel right now? I mean, you're like, that's who I want to hear. What are you and your family thinking right now? How it's going? I mean, I think the worst case scenario is a hung jury.
Well, I did talk to Becky earlier today after everything was over.
I tried calling her.
She said if he's found guilty, if he's a hung jury, or if he's found not guilty, she said it's fine with me. But the point is, I'll be able to speak now on this. That's exactly what Becky said to me. She'll be.
I don't know, man. I think if he's found not guilty, there'll never be justice in this case.
No, they won't be able. If they find him not guilty, they will never be able to charge another person.
Okay, Tara.
Tara said, Gray, I'll talk to you after the verdict.
All right. Yeah, I want to talk to you, Tara, actually. You don't have to come on my show or anything if you don't want, but just even on the phone. But yeah, I think there will be zero justice in this case if he's found not guilty, because they'll never investigate it again. There will be none of these super sleuthy whack jobs on the internet. They're not going to find anybody because Richard Allen is the bridge guy and he's the killer. I know, but no, I know that's what I'm saying. But they would never be able to find anybody else. They're not going to reopen it. Oh, let's find the other guy. There isn't another guy. Richard Allen is the killer. He's the killer.
Who else could it be?
Nobody.
Right.
He is the killer. I mean, he's
right.
Yeah. So, that's what I'm saying.
Well, it was
guilty, they're not going to they're not going to look at it.
It was the Odinist.
Yeah, the Odinist. Oh yeah.
Let me ask you guys.
It's freaking.
If there is a hung jury in this case, do you believe the case will get retried?
God, I sure as hell hope so.
I hope so, but I don't think they got the money to do it. So that's just me.
They need to do it better.
$2.1 million.
What?
I think it'd be cheaper the next time around. I mean, you just got you're just.
He won't be acquitted though. That's not going to happen.
I don't see that.
It's going to be guilty or a hung jury.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope they don't retire the case.
So, guys, if the jury has any common sense, there's two things that they need to focus on. Him admitting about the van, okay?
Yeah, that's the big one.
That's the big one. And then the box cutter.
And his confession to his mother.
His mother and his wife.
Do you guys see that thing? The rumor about the van came out like early this year, like a March or something. So, I mentioned, hey, maybe there's this. And these people go, oh, you must have had the doctor call you up and tell you because she watched my page, right? But I think it's more likely that Westerman is the one that put it out there. And then Bob Mata working, and she watched him too, right? So, I mean, it's just so crazy. It's like the rumor was that he said something in a confession. So that means I wouldn't have known it before the confession, right? I mean, that's what's so stupid about it. But I get all these people are posting, hey, Gray, how did you know that there was something? Because rumors are out there.
We all knew that he got spooked somehow. If it was Eric on the trails yelling for the girls or Brad coming up the driveway.
Yeah.
We knew that something had spooked him, but we just didn't know what it was. And my recollection tells me that Fig is the one that came up, that found the photo of Brad's van in the yard with Brad.
Yeah, I mean, there's people out there that actually know what the hell they're doing, and they talk to the right people, and you figure stuff out like any journalist type person would do. But what's weird is these jealous people, they pretend that you had, like a trial, just because that lady, Mata, what's her name, Walla? She watched my channel. She watched, Bob Mata's channel, whatever the hell it's called. And, she watched a whole bunch of channels. But
yeah, she watched mine too. That doesn't mean much.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, so
Right.
what if she watched my channel? That doesn't mean she now communicates and goes, "Hey, guess what, Gray? There was this." It's so ridiculous.
I had
But
somebody,
Brad Weber lawyering up right away.
somebody send me a
I'm
message.
surprised they didn't jump on that too.
Somebody
Well, I
sent me,
don't know about that.
somebody sent me a message, wanted to know, what do you guys think, how long it will take for them to come up with a verdict?
I hope it's not fast.
I think it's gonna be a
then
long time.
people will say they didn't look at the evidence. So I hope it takes them a little while.
Well, I hope you do a quick one. What do you guys think now? And let's see what they say. If they're all guilty, then shit, that's it.
Well, I can tell you this, from being in the courtroom 2 weeks out of the 3 weeks during this trial, I've seen the packets that the jurors are dealing with, because what they do is they take the packets from them and they put them in a tub, and the judge takes them with her. They're about 8 to 9 inches thick. Their files are.
Hmm.
Now let me
They've
ask
got a
you guys
lot
this
of
that have been in
information to
there.
go through.
A lot.
How many jurors asked questions? Was it the same ones over and over?
All of them did.
They all
Yeah.
did.
I know.
It's
All
going
of
to take
them
a while then. They're going to probably have more
gonna be
questions
long.
and request more information.
I think it'll be multiple days, to be honest with you, because I think there's going to be some not guilty people that the other people that see the reality of it. They're going to try to convince those people. My problem is, how you see people right now when you watch these conspiracy channels, and and how many people will go, "Ooh, this is so great!" They're so interested. When you see that, you start wondering, okay, so now that's sort of a representation of the population. So how do you make sure that there aren't 4 of those type of crazy people on the jury that believe in those kind of things?
Sure.
Because that's kind of what they're selling at the trial, is just some hocus pocus.
Yeah, the defense. Yeah. I agree
They're
with
selling
that.
this stuff, and you could just see somebody believing this psychological mumbo jumbo. But you'd have to believe that having psychosis gives you psychic ability to see through the eyes of the actual killer, to see the white van. Isn't that amazing, everybody? If you get psychosis, you become a psychic where you can see the white van through the eyes of the killer.
I'm a psycho, not a psychic.
Yeah.
I think we all got psycho in us.
But did they ever discuss? He went to his mom's house and decided not to go to lunch with them. Did they have an argument or something? And also, he's an alcoholic. He bought a 6-pack and only drank 3 of them?
Or he said he drank 3 of them later.
Yeah, give me a break.
He probably drank them when he got home, and then he said he was sleeping on the couch when Kathy came home from work.
Now,
See,
he said he was in bed having a depressive
and like you said, Ruckus,
and found him the same way when she got home in bed to start with.
And see, that's what I've been having running through my brain. If he had a burner phone, what if he was tracking the girls?
And what information did he have from them that he could track them?
Snapchat,
something like that. Maybe.
I was just going to say Snapchat. They didn't have that ability back in 2017, though.
But he could still be in their chat, and they're telling people where they were going.
Oh yeah, as far as that goes, yes.
Right.
Or being catfished.
I think they would have been able to find that. Because remember in Rex Heuermann, they were able to find that kind of stuff. I just wonder if he went to Peru, and he's had this verbal. It's all analog. There's no digital footprint, and somehow he was told, "Hey, I got these 2 girls. They're going to be at the bridge." And he does
make me question, why didn't they call his mom to testify to verify that he was at her house?
She broke her nose.
Yeah, I remember that.
What a coincidence.
She's back in court. She was in court yesterday, right?
She was in court yesterday and today.
Okay, yeah. So she's back.
Who would that benefit, though? Actually,
been there. His mom, his stepdad, his sister.
I guess. See, the thing is, if you're not doing the Keegan Kline theory, it doesn't benefit you. Saying, I guess the mom would then prove that he wasn't psychotic when he told the story, right? Because it's a true thing that really happened. So it would be, wow, he really did visit his mom, and wow, he really saw the white van because it drove by. So that whole story was accurate, right?
So that means the whole catfishing thing's out.
That's why I've always said that his state of mind on the 13th of February of 2017 is critical. It doesn't matter if he's got psychosis in 2023. It doesn't. What was his state of mind on February 13th, 2017? It sounds
And
like
that's
he was
why I
perfectly
asked,
lucid and fine to me.
and that's
They could
why
not
I think,
even
why
prove-
didn't they bring his mom in and question her to ask him what his state of mind was at that point in time?
Well, they couldn't even prove that he was not fit for trial.
No, they didn't even do that. That's the thing that's so angered
Right.
me about all this.
And to say I was crazy when this happened, they have to prove that he was crazy back then.
And it's very difficult to do that. And that's why they didn't do it, because they knew that they wouldn't be able to. And I firmly believe that this whole thought process of them saying, well, you know, Richard's delusional and he's psychotic and he's doing all these crazy things because you're torturing him. If you really believed that, why didn't you approach the court and say, we want everything stopped and we want our client to be evaluated? We want him taken out of prison, put into a mental hospital until he is fit for trial.
If I had a nickel for every inmate that I saw eating feces,
oh God,
or eating his foot or his hand,
you guys don't know about this.
Way back when.
I don't know if you guys know about this, but it was yesterday, or it was either yesterday or Monday. But he was eating what's those little pads?
Post-it notes.
Post-it note. He was eating post-it notes in the damn courtroom.
I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Oh, so it shows it's more of a habit of his.
So does he have pica?
So
does he suffer from pica? Pica is a medical condition where you eat things that aren't food.
Well, in the prison system, they cannot. There's a mailroom and there's a mail clerk. They scan.
God, that's Bridge Guy. Jesus.
Look at that. Does anybody think that those two bodies aren't?
Oh my God, no! And when you
that's what he looked like back then. That's just these images right here, late 2000. It was like 2016 and 17. That's what he looked like on the right. It's exactly the same. I even put his face from when he's bowling on the face there, and when you turn it on and off, it looks exactly the same. It's just a little bit less blurry.
Look at his arms. The one that's in the pocket.
Yeah,
it was him, Greg. There's no doubt it was him.
Yeah, and just look what he looked like. He was a totally different guy.
Yeah.
But did Nick prove it was him?
Well, I don't think they were able to show it. Were they able to give him any of these photographs?
Let me tell you something. When I was been in the courtroom, they had a great big blow up of BG on a poster board. I mean, a great big one on the back wall, and I could see it perfect. And when I looked at that, I said, "That is Richard Allen's face."
Mm-hmm. It is, and he's got his face on Bridge Guy. Look at this picture.
Yeah, this is what he looked like back then. Look at that, man.
But they're also saying that somebody of his stature couldn't have moved around that territory or done what he did.
Yeah, that's total bullshit. Look at this guy. Does he look weak to you?
That guy's got a big upper body. He is strong, and he could pull around a 200-pound girl.
Yeah, but who took those pictures?
About his wife, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is she a picture of fitness?
Well, no, but he is. I mean, he's like in shape.
She went to the same places that he did and took those pictures. So if she can hike up there, he can obviously do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But look at him. He's not weak looking. Like they have him look really frail right now. And just like, hey, everybody, I'm so pathetic, you know. He doesn't look like that.
Beer. He stopped drinking beer when he went to jail.
And I'll tell you what. You know what I hope? I want him to sue somebody. I don't even care if it's me. If he's found not guilty, because I will absolutely love to go to court and use the animation and show why I was saying these things. By the time it was over,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there'll be some wrongful death suit.
A civil case would be awesome.
God, I would love it.
If he sued me, he'd be doing it for practice. I'm broke.
Right. You get blood out of a tournament.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, he can't really, you know, it's like once he's done here. I mean, the thing is, everything I'm showing when I talk about it is reasonable and it's accurate information in the case. All right. So there's nothing I'm saying that's even remotely not true. Richard Allen is the Bridge Guy, everybody. I don't care if he's found not guilty. He is the Bridge Guy. We just showed you a minute ago. I'm sorry. I'm talking to you.
I don't necessarily need to see those pictures because they'll never see the sketches, you guys. So
look at that. I mean, that's the guy.
That's him. Yeah, that's him.
It's wild, man. It's wild. You know, and just is what it is.
When I saw that picture of him, that one right there, I knew that he was Bridge Guy. I was like, oh my God, I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
never
All right,
thought.
Crystal, let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
If it was your husband, would you recognize him on that bridge after 6-7 years?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been with him for 46 years, so
And
yeah,
you
I
were-
would know
Kathy was
him.
with him for what, 25 plus years? when
Almost, yeah, almost 30. They've been together almost 30 years. So yeah, I mean, I can't imagine not knowing that that's your husband walking there.
So I think it's a big deal that he never told her he was at the bridge.
That is
Yeah.
a big deal.
After
That's
he
huge.
calls Dan, get a hold of Dan Doolin, the tip line, all this stuff. And he never thinks, man, hey, Kathy, man, it's crazy. I was out there hiking. That's just bizarre. Nobody in the world would ever not say that if you weren't guilty of something. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
God, it's just true.
Yep.
I hope they use that somehow. I mean,
Oh, I
close
hope they do too, because
Like,
he
yeah.
left that out, I think, in his story that he was telling the pool hall weekly when they were all getting together and playing pool and talking about the case.
Mhm.
Because
he
he
never
did
said that to any of his friends either.
They told, well, I was just going to say, he told them that, oh, I was out there that day.
So
And I
how
went
do we
to
know
the
that?
meeting.
Was that at trial? Was that at trial?
It never came out at trial, but the guy who owned the bar where they played pool,
JC's.
JC's, he heard him talk about it.
Okay, that would be hearsay though, because
No, they couldn't use that, but I'm just saying he said that he would say, I was out there that day, but I went to the police. I told them what I know.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
It just still flabbergasts me with Dan Doolin. Why didn't it click in his head immediately when Richard Allen said he saw the 3 girls?
Yeah, or just like be more curious, have more intellectual curiosity about a guy that's actually at the bridge exactly during that time.
Right, exactly. Dan Doolin, I think he's the one that really screwed this whole case up. My honest
I think he's the one who wrote cleared on the tip.
He also got that key IMEI number, so you got to give him a little credit for that. And he got that fixed the name problem.
Yes, true.
So, but I mean, how come in 5 years you didn't once think, shit, what about that one guy? Did you guys ever check on
that
one
guy that I interviewed that said he was there that day?
Exactly. That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, instantly it should have clicked in Dan's head.
He should have went to Jerry Holman and said, "Hey, Jerry, have you interviewed this guy?"
I think that might be. I think one of the biggest problems they have in cases like this is that every one of the people on the different levels don't know as much as they should.
Yep.
Like Dan Doolin, he probably didn't know that there was 3 other girls that saw. As a matter of fact, when he heard that, he was like, "Hey, look into those 3 girls." He wrote that.
That's why I said he was more interested in the fact that there were 3 teenage girls there than he was that there was a man standing in front of him saying, "Hey, I was there that day."
And the only male that was out there that day.
I think what they should have done in this case, since they already on the 14th the girls' bodies were found, on the 15th they put out the image in the paper of Bridge Guy and said, "We want to talk to this person to get more information, see what they saw." The very next day he obliged them because he saw his own picture. Then he calls the tip line, and I feel like if Dan Doolin and all the other tip people going around had a picture of the Bridge Guy in their pocket, they could have said, "Hey, is this you? This is you, right?" And they would have went, "Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah, we had a trail." They have a story made up though, like, "Hey, we've got a trail camera that took this picture. Is this you?" And he would have said, "Yeah, that's me," because he knew it was him at that time, and he would have admitted it. I guarantee it.
Well, there is something that me and Kristen have talked about on numerous lives. When he was being interviewed by Luttrell or Liggett and Mullins, and they showed him the picture of BG, and he said, they asked him, "Is this you?" "No, if it's the photo from the girl's phone, that's not me." They never released that information that came out of the phone.
Why would he say it though? Why would an innocent person say that?
I think
I saw the girl.
Actually, I've known that the image came out of the phone since, because he said that in 2022 about the phone. I think we've all known that the image came out of the phone. I knew, anyways. For
18 on that.
Yeah, like 2018, 19. I mean, it seemed like that was something.
Be on that, Gray.
No, I made these videos early on there. Robert Ives was interested in maybe if they arrested the guy that they could use it at court, but then he retired and they didn't make an arrest for 5.5 years, and then there's totally different setup in there. But I think they did have that information. But that's what's interesting is what is he really saying when he says, if the girl took the picture, then I didn't take it. What he's really saying is that's me in the picture, but I can't tell you it's me. I can't tell you it's me because you're saying that the girl took the picture and that would make me look guilty. Because I mean, who talks like that?
Exactly.
Right. He said if that picture is from one of the girls' phones,
Yeah.
then it's not me because he's sticking by he never saw them.
Right.
But it's really inferring that's a horrendous answer. What it really is showing is that he knows it's him. He knows it's him because what else are you saying? Well, it's me, other than the fact that that girl took the picture.
Right.
That's really what you're saying in that picture.
His brain went into denial once he saw it. He's like, yeah, I know it's me, but I got to deny it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he answered that way.
After, when they didn't come after him, he thought he got away with it.
But without seeing that interview and seeing his nonverbal communication and his body language and all that, it's hard to really put a finger on it. Even someone that's not trained, just seeing a transcript of it is not the same.
But would anybody ever really answer like that? Like if you said to somebody, hey, is this you in this picture? Wouldn't you go, oh, hell no, that's not me. Look at that. I don't even have
yeah, but he's had all those years to practice at it in his mind.
Yeah, instead he goes, well, if that girl took it, then no. I mean, that's nuts.
That's
that's
stupid. That's a stupid answer.
That's a guilty conscious, screwed up.
JK is asking, we also heard that the killer sent a pic to the girl's phone. Is that true? I have never heard of that.
I've never heard that.
No, that's not true at all. Yeah.
No, there is so much bogus information.
Just like it's not true that Kelsey is a part of anything. You probably see that on these crazy YouTube channels. None of that stuff has any even semblance of reality.
Now, do you guys think he even had a phone that day?
Deb's True Crime Book is asking what he means is if that picture was taken by someone else, then it's him.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you think he had a burner phone?
I do.
He was watching the stock ticker. None of the witnesses said he was looking at a phone.
And the major problem that I have with Betsy Blair, she said that she described him as young and beautiful or pretty and curly hair or some shit like that.
We've all been on 300. We've all been on it. That road is a country road.
Oh,
it's
Lord.
barely wide enough for two vehicles. There's no line down the middle of it.
Yeah.
If she drove past him and he was on the side of the road, even if he was 5 or 10 feet off of the side of the road, she would have got a decent enough look at him.
Oh, she said she did. She said she was like 5 feet away from him.
But she did say on the stand that when she passed him, his hands were in his pockets. He was hunched over looking down.
Does that look like anybody you've heard of?
I was just going to say, that sounds like Bridge Guy. Also sounds like Richard Allen. Have you seen him?
And the funny part about Sarah Carball is when they were questioning her, and she's like, it's not like I stuck a ruler out the window to see how far away from the car he was.
But if he was looking at stock tickers like he says himself, that is not hard to see. To go to his account.
Right.
And see that he was looking
at. Well, they did. They already proved that his phone never showed up on any of the data dumps or anything.
Right.
That's what I mean. He used a burner.
Either had a burner or he didn't have a phone.
Well, nobody uses a burner to look at stock tickers, right? So it's like,
well, you can't prove that.
GP says she would have seen him perfectly. Like I said, GP, she said on the stand he was looking down, so she did not see his face.
He was trying to be incognito.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one thing I would say is that I think it should be, I don't know if it would work, but I think the prosecution needs to bring up the fact that, so early on in the case, like when the probable cause came out, it said Betsy Blair was 50 feet away. So from platform 1. So I measured it. And by the way, it ends right here at the bridge. But at trial, Betsy Blair said she turned around at the platform, which is back here. And it's way further. And you could actually cast out like, she said she was 50 feet, but we actually, based on the barrier, here it is and show it on the map. It was 111 feet, 37 yards. So that might explain why her memory is a little off in terms of what, but she said he still had the blue jeans on, the blue jacket, and said the person she saw was the person in Libby's video, right?
And I think that's why she didn't see him clear enough and she thought he was younger.
But the average person doesn't know that. I just had privacy fence put up on my property, and I was off by 150 feet.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. It's like 50 feet, though, when you tell somebody, you go, oh, that's not too far. But 111 feet at 37 yards, over a third of a football field, that is, at that point, the jury would go, oh, okay, that's why she didn't get a good look. Then you just throw it in there on her.
Think about the sketches.
Now, if you go back,
I don't think they're allowed. So.
Oh, no, I just lost.
Well, they're not. Nobody's ever been convicted on a sketch.
You were talking about. If you go back.
If you go back to the Abby photo on the bridge,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of us have done this. We've taken that photo and blew it up as big as we could.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Well, it's because of the barrier.
Well, the barrier was what people thought was a person.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a tree behind that barrier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a tree right behind that barrier because Randy found the photo and we showed it a couple years ago to prove that there was a tree behind that barrier. And that's who they thought was the person.
Right. I actually had people walk all along the bridge and back, and I debunked that with debunking videos. I go, look, there's not a person there. It's a tree.
Right.
And even off to the right, that tree off to the right that people said there was a guy down. That's like on a cliff. It's just, but you can also see that little thing on actual video that you can.
The barrier. Yeah, you can see it if you blow up the picture.
But if you're not there, and we've all been there, that terrain would tell you. The picture of Abby on the bridge. Some people said there's a guy hiding behind a tree.
Yeah,
that terrain does not allow for that.
No.
And see, I even sent that photo into an expert to have him look at it to see if it had been altered, and I asked him to look to see if he could find anybody in the wood line behind my trees, and he said no, there is nobody in there.
Now, what about the BG video? Do you think that was
altered?
I
put Bigfoot back there. I don't know if you saw that, but I used that in a debunking video. They had a person behind that tree, so I put Bigfoot back there. But
now,
people are idiots.
That video of BG, we know now that he was much further back. If you looked at the original video, you probably wouldn't even notice him. But do you think that law enforcement? They said they enhanced it. Do you think they doctored it to hide the weapons or anything like that?
Well, they didn't but what are you saying they doctored?
They covered up the gun so it wouldn't be seen by the public.
Who? In the video? Which video?
The picture of BG on the bridge.
They didn't cover up anything in there. That's just it. Okay. He's propping something up. You can see it under the jacket. There's no gun there.
He had something brown under his jacket.
Here, I'll show you. Let me show you. Watch. Look at this picture right here. I'll just throw it in there as a height. Look at that right hand. His left hand right there is in his left jean pocket. His right hand is much higher, and it's above his jean pocket. Even when you turn it so it's completely upright, it's way higher. That's why his right shoulder's up. See that?
Yeah.
But what's that brown area?
He's propping up. Well, that's just I think that's the same a shirt or a sweater. Because see how it flattens against his pants? People were saying it's a fanny pack. It's a fanny pack, but it's not because it flattens right on. A fanny pack. It flattens right on his sweatshirt. So it's a sweatshirt or something, but he's propping up. See that? Like, can you see how you grab the handle of the gun and you sort of rotate it inside of the holster maybe, and it's propped up and pointing out in the jacket there. See that thing pointing out right there? Like right here. Watch, I'll zoom in more. Like right here, and that's his hand propping it up, and there's a gun sticking under there.
Now that white spot, is that the back of his hand?
Yeah, that's his hand there, and that's also his hand there.
Okay, so his hand is going through the shirt?
Where's the puppy?
No, it's just down below it, and he's propping up something underneath it.
And the puppy is right there. We should be able to see what he's propping up.
I had to see.
No, well, you can't because his wrist is there, and inside the wrist, the hand or whatever the hell it is, he's got probably hold of the handle, and you can see it sort of underneath the jacket there. I mean, all we see is 2 seconds.
Now, my question
I
is,
agree. I
My
agree.
question is, do you believe he had a mask on? Because this photo right here is blatantly obvious he did not have a mask on.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
what's
he has
this right
to
here
have-
though? What's that right there? Is that something he pulled down after? Like, did he have a little white mask that he put up and then he pulled it down, and he didn't care at that point because he's up the other end of the bridge? He's not hiding his identity because he knew he was going to kill them. See,
Now,
He
he was
doesn't care.
not known to carry his pistol with him all the time. So if he had his pistol and a box knife, which he may have had in his pocket from work or whatever, but to me, that shows intent.
Yes, especially if it's something he didn't normally do.
But
And
you got to
who
remember,
takes
this is
their gun
Indiana,
with
guys.
them?
This is Indiana. Most men carry guns with them everywhere they go.
But
Is
he
it
said he
constitutional
didn't.
carry?
Back then, you had to have a license, and he has a lifetime concealed weapons license.
But he said he told law enforcement he didn't carry it all the time.
Right.
You know
That
these
shows
people out
intent.
Yeah, you're right. He said he usually carried it when he went fishing.
Right. I'm like, who takes their gun or mushroom hunting? I'm like,
Right.
why
Right.
do you take your gun mushroom hunting?
Right.
Now,
But not out
where
of-
is he during that?
Or if
picture
you're going
right there?
fishing,
Well,
with
in
your-
this picture here, he's back in the woods back there because I'll show you back on the map here.
yeah, you can't see
Here's the
all
side of
the
the
way.
bridge. I think he walks back here to give them a sense of safety and freedom. Because if he's standing here, I guarantee if they don't go across that bridge,
So they
they're like,
passed
"Who is this
him.
guy?" So
They saw him
right.
beforehand.
Yeah. Well, I just showed that in that timeline. He
A
passed.
quick pass by, a passerby.
Yeah. So back to this thing right here. I'll show you. Go back to the Google Earth, and so right when Betsy Blair gets there, she turns around, and then Abby and Libby pass Betsy Blair, and they have to run into him next. And the
Yep.
thing is, Richard Allen never says, "Oh yeah, I ran into them, but I left." You know,
Right.
see, it's just one of those things where he had to have seen them. He should have seen somebody that looked just like him.
But
He
he
doesn't
did
accept
say that
that.
he was sitting on the bench until about 3:30.
Yeah. Did he say when he was leaving, he sat on the bench until 3:30?
All I recall back then is he said that he left about 3:30 because he had been sitting on the bench for a while.
Now, we talking about that
Yeah.
bench right across from the Mears parking lot where it intersects?
You're talking about the Gerard bench.
But that is the one that looks. You can look into the water there, and if that's the one he sat at, then somebody should have seen him. Also, I just, it's not true. That's the whole thing. It's
Well,
just-
what about Derek German? He went down that trail.
Well, he would have seen him. Derek German got there at
right.
2:14.
He went down to 5:05. Derek did.
Right.
Derek never saw him.
No.
Yeah. Nobody saw him. He was
And it was,
full fit.
you know, what's so funny is now we're going to get into flannel shirt guy, which we know was Dave McCain.
Mhm.
This just came out during trial. He had a camera with him.
Yeah.
No one knew that until trial.
And what the hell was on that camera? What pictures? I mean, I want to know what he.
And why didn't
He
they
never
come out in
got
trial?
he never got his SIM card back.
Well, then who has it? I mean, why didn't they show
Law
it? Then?
enforcement.
Well, then they must not have found anything interesting then.
Right.
And he wasn't really there at the right time to film Brad Weber, anyways, so it wouldn't matter.
And they had Shelby on the stand too.
Hmm.
She's
DP's girlfriend.
DP's girlfriend.
Yeah, at the time.
All
Why
right, so
didn't they have
Ellie-
DP testify though? That's the question.
So Ellie talked to Brad Weber soon after,
He doesn't live in Indiana. Maybe that's why.
but he took a polygraph test, and then
And I
he
can't
lawyered up.
believe they allowed that to be in the trial when he said that. They should have struck it from the record immediately because we know that polygraphs are admissible in court.
Well, here's the thing, Frank. You can't unring a bell. If the jury hears it and the judge says strike that, pretend you didn't hear it, that's not how it works.
Right. I get that. Yes, I do get that.
You were a foreman. You went through that.
Yeah. You know, I mean, but still, the judge should have struck it from the record,
Right.
and she didn't.
Right.
You know, the part about what polygraph? From who?
Brad Weber had a polygraph.
Brad Weber
taken.
took a polygraph. He said it on the stand this
Did
week.
he pass it?
He never
He
said
didn't
anything
say.
about passing it or anything.
Yeah, he
Oh.
said law enforcement was harassing me. I took a polygraph, and then he didn't say this, but then he lawyered up soon afterwards, which is a wise move.
Yeah. As soon as they start asking questions like that, you got to get a lawyer. It doesn't make you seem, and it shouldn't make anybody in the public think you are more guilty because you
And
lawyered up.
he even had his 6-hour 226 himself, 40 caliber.
And they did say that his bullet wasn't I knew as soon as they said in trial that it wasn't excluded, the bullet, from the ejection, that the defense was then trying to say, well, maybe we have evidence. They said that they had evidence that they got into a car at the other end of the bridge, but they never brought that up in the defense side, right? They never said, but in the opening they said, we think that remember their opening statements that they think that the girls maybe got into a different vehicle, and then I think they were trying to imply that was Brad Weber's vehicle driving by, and somehow he's involved, you know.
And they
you
never
know, another thing
explained.
that really was confusing is, remember back in the day when it was said that Brad Weber got home between 3 and 3:30, and that's when he was confronted by law enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Well, that wouldn't make sense, would it?
No,
they wouldn't be there at that time,
right?
Yeah,
he wouldn't be there at that time.
The law enforcement, because law enforcement wasn't even on the case till like 5 something.
The girls hadn't been reported missing yet.
Yeah.
All right. So what about Ron Logan's false alibi? What do you
But he
guys
didn't
think
want to
about
get 2 years in prison. That's why. Yeah, he came up with an alibi because he knew they were going to search, and then he'd have to say that he drove to the pet store, and then that would be breaking his parole, and he would get 2 years in prison. Guess what happened? He got 2 years in prison.
But before there was even a crime, they
Well,
were
it wasn't
just
before there
missing.
was a crime. Yeah, they were
At that
missing, but I know, but the investigation would have led to knowing that he drove somewhere. So because he had receipts from a pet store. So
Well,
he
what
wanted to
got him
claim-
is the transfer station.
Yeah, he drove to the dump.
Right, but that was just because that was just something he did. He wasn't supposed to be driving at all.
Right.
So he tried to make it seem like his cousin or whatever the hell it was drove him to do all these things. But it turns out when they do the investigation, just like he was nervous about, it led back to he was over at the pet store. His cousin never drove him. He was at the transfer station. He broke his parole. 2 years in prison. Bye bye.
Now, why do you think the defense never hammered on that?
I think they said they couldn't use the Ron Logan because they investigated him. He was completely ruled out as being a suspect.
Okay.
I mean, right?
I think Richard Allen's guilty. There's no doubt in my mind. But, there's questions, Gray. You know what I mean? There's still questions. But
yeah, I don't have any more. I mean, it's weird. I've gone over it so much that I don't have any questions about Ron Logan or anything like that at all. It all makes sense to me how it all went down with him.
Well, how do they know that he walked around Mears and the Who's Your Harvest store? Just
because it
make
would have been
sense?
picked up on camera.
Oh yeah, that part. Here's the thing.
On camera, Frank.
Yeah, I've always said this: the Betsy Blair and the Muddy Bloody thing is, to me, it's just you can throw it out of the story. It doesn't even. We know that the killer was across the creek and he killed him. How he got out of there, how he might have snuck back or whatever. Great, but Betsy. I mean, but Sarah Carbaugh's sighting. What does it really do? Like, how does it help something?
Well, that's important in this case.
She waited 3 weeks to report what she had seen because she had seen it on the TV about the girls being murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it clicked in her head 3 weeks later. She even said this on the damn stand. She got scared.
But here's the thing.
Where she said she saw him, that was before Mears. And we've all been down 300.
She's standing between the cemetery and the Mears lot.
But if he was 50 yards out in the field, I would have been able to see him at least.
But they don't need. I know, but nobody's looking over there. They're standing and talking in a circle, like, "Hey, where's the kid?" And they're not caring about some rando.
But she had no idea about any of that, Gray. She didn't know what was going on. She was just driving.
Right, exactly, and that's my point. Yeah. When she finally seen the news break about what happened to the girls 3 weeks later, that's when it clicked in her head. That's the guy I saw on 300.
Mm-hmm.
So the important thing to me is law enforcement sees him driving by the Who's Your Harvest store, and they can prove that because of his make, model, and his rims. And then nobody else sees him after the girls see him on the trail. Nobody else sees him after that except for Sarah Carba. So
Right.
the defense has to jump on that,
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Right, but
and
the
say,
thing
well,
is,
where does he go
but here's
from
the
there?
thing: is the story is the same, even without Sarah Carbot and the Muddy and Bloody guy. He
but
is
the
Agreed.
Bridge
problem
guy.
is, guys, they
Agreed.
brought this up
Yeah.
on this in the trial. Why didn't Steve Mullen do a BMV check of all Ford Focuses in that county and the surrounding counties? And they didn't.
You would think that they would have,
They did the
especially in,
2016 Ford Focus.
especially in
But then again-
2019 when they said they knew the make of the car, but they didn't know who the driver was.
Right. And
I
another
don't know
thing
if
you
they
got to also remember, those rims were factory rims. I even looked it up.
But they were special though to that car, though, right? Like
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for that Ford Focus.
that year too, I think.
Yes.
Frank,
Yeah.
you've been on here for
Yeah.
2.5 hours, my dear, and I gotta go.
Well, I have to go myself too. So that was
Well,
actually
Gray, Kristen, thank you. Ruckus, thank you.
that was
Everybody, in
fun.
the chat, thank you. Everybody that
welcome.
supported my live tonight with donations, thank you. I love all you guys. I
Hey,
know
good talking to you guys.
Say, go ahead.
And
Well,
just
thanks for
let
having
me
me on.
put this out there real quick. When the Boston Marathon bombing happened, Boston police shut down the whole town till they found them. That's how
Yes.
you do shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, we're in a small country
Small little
town.
town.
I'm just saying.
You know,
Yeah.
they didn't have experience in something like this.
Hey, everybody, I am here. I'm waving behind the chat face or whatever it is. Can you act? Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
There
you
we
gotta
go.
close down the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It
anyway.
was good seeing you guys.
Yeah, it's nice
Very
talking to
good
you guys.
to
Hey,
see you
good
guys.
conversation tonight, guys. I appreciate you all coming on.
I'm sorry if
Thanks
I
a lot.
talk too much, but I have so much to say, so I could just
Right, exactly.
pressing
We've
nuts.
been on it 2.5 hours.
Yeah, all right.
Like I said, I want to thank everybody that came out and listened to the live tonight. I want to thank everybody that supported my live with the donations. My mods, love you guys. You guys are great. Gray, Kristen, Ruckus, thank you so much, guys, for coming up and having this chat with me tonight.
And don't forget what
Thanks
this
for
is
having me.
all about and who this is all about. you guys.
Everybody,
It's not about us.
please cross your fingers that we get a guilty verdict.
And
Yep.
Gray, I
About
may
Abby
reach
and
out to you
Libby
about
and justice.
Evansdale, brother.
And
Oh, yeah, cool. I've covered that one too. That's
and
okay.
everybody remember, it's about Abby and Libby.
Yep.
Nobody else. It's not about us
Nope.
at all.
Nope.
It's justice for Abby and Libby.
Absolutely.
Amen. All
Don't
right.
take
Cool.
any wooden nickels, kids.
Good
All
night,
right.
you guys.
See you guys later. Have a good one.
All right. You know what time it is, guys. Peace out. One love. Good night. Love you guys. Until next time. Good night.